San Diego County Board of Supervisors regular meeting to order. Ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Supervisor Anderson. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Vice Chair Vargas. Chair Fletcher.
Here. We will begin with the invocation. The invocation will be delivered by the Reverend Cadmum D. Grace, Metropolitan Church of San Diego. We welcome you.
Good morning. My pronouns are he and they. Please join me in a prayer. O divine presence, who is known to all of us by many names, Allah, God, critical thinking, and science, we thank you for the ways that you express yourself through each of our identities. We celebrate the gathering in person after many years of being apart. We ask that you would bless the Board of Supervisors, their staffs, and the work that they carry out, that it would be culturally competent to the needs of the people in the district, and that all of us would be able to bring our best selves together to create harmony, to celebrate the greatness of this city, and also to be a light in the world, in the places where there remains darkness and suffering. We ask this in all the many names that are holy. Amen.
Thank you. Please remain standing. The pledge will be delivered remotely by Tekoa Chilcote third grade class from Vista Academy of Visual and Performing Arts. We welcome our third graders to our board meeting today. Thank you for joining us, and we will turn it over to you for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Should we test it? Should we ask? Okay, so what is your time? Yeah, it says go ahead.
Right hand over your heart. Now begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to the third graders. Thank you all so much. We hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for starting our meeting. We will now proceed with our proclamations. I will give the first proclamation honoring survivors of torture international. On February 27th, 2022, Survivors of Torture International, also known as Survivors, marked its 25th anniversary as an independent nonprofit organization dedicated to caring for survivors of politically motivated torture from around the world, and in particular caring for those who now call San Diego their home. For 25 years, Survivors has helped thousands of torture survivors from more than 90 countries across the world heal and recover from unspeakable trauma. They do this through a holistic program of client-centered, trauma-informed, culturally responsive, and linguistically appropriate direct services. These services include individuals and group therapy, psychiatry and medication management, intensive clinical management, medical case management, and forensic documentation of medical affidavits and psychological evaluations, which are all submitted as critical evidence in the asylum cases. Survivors empowers torture survivors to reclaim their strength and vitality that were stolen to them by dictators, oppressive regimes, and insurgencies around the world. The specialized care Survivors provides for these vulnerable individuals helps them to become self-sufficient and healthy members of their families and healthy members of their community. Unfortunately, we see on the news all too often today the very real atrocities that get committed in the name of totalitarianism, of extremism, of a lack of regard for human rights and human dignity. And I'm incredibly pleased the Survivors make San Diego their home, and I value the work that they did. In a prior profession and prior life, I spent lots of times in my life in the Horn of Africa, near Somalia, in Yemen, in Iraq, Cambodia, Serbia, East Timor, Myanmar. a number of countries around the world doing human rights work, I've seen firsthand the impact that this can wreak on families, on individuals, the decades of moral harm that gets inflicted. And so while we strive for a world that is more peaceful, where fewer of these things happen, we have to accept the reality of the present. And it is organizations like Survivors that step into that difficult space and provide that love and compassion and empathy, legal support and help and assistance to individuals so that we can truly embrace that we remain a place. When we said, send us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, perhaps we actually meant it as a country. But it's sending them as half of the action. The other half of the action is receiving and accepting them. And so we really appreciate deeply as a county the work that Survivors does, and it's my honor to proclaim myself and all the members of the Board of Supervisors the 5th day of April. We commend Survivors of Torture International for outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the citizens of San Diego, and do hereby proclaim this day Survivors of Torture International Day throughout San Diego County. With us here today is Kathy Anderson, along with Okuk Ojulu, and I want to acknowledge Kathy's 25 years as the founder, commend her for the incredible work that is happening and the lives that have been saved and positively impacted, and we'd like to welcome both of you to say a few words, but congratulations for everything you've done.
So thank you very much, Chair Fletcher and all the county supervisors for recognizing us today. At Survivors of Torture International, we focus on the healing of our clients. There is no set formula for healing. We work so hard to rebuild trust, to provide a range of services that are available, and to let the survivor choose how and when they want to participate in the services we can provide so they can truly heal. In 1997, I founded Survivors of Torture International with the help of 2 now retired Lutheran ministers. Over these 25 years, I have had an amazing journey myself of helping survivors heal, seeing up close the strength and resilience of survivors and the happiness and successes that they've achieved. People like Okuk are the ones who inspire me. Cook, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I came from a very turbulent country, Ethiopia, where I spoke on the behalf of voiceless people. I was mentally tortured, spending 3.5 years in prison, the most dangerous prison. And I escaped the country. I went to neighboring country, Kenya, and from Kenya I was invited to Washington to witness what has been going on. And from there I remained. I came to San Diego to apply for asylum, where I was very privileged to come to Survivors. So coming to Survivors, I came with a lot of stress and trauma from prison. I did not go through all those things. So the group therapy and individual therapy, which I witnessed with the survivors, they give me opportunity to express my grievance, my feelings, which I did not experience before. And it became a healing process for me, to my mind, and see that the power of expressing oneself is very, very important for human beings. Coming from a country where you are not allowed to speak, such a moment was a very, very important for me. So through Survivors, I was given access to the medical, which I supposed to go after asylum, but I got it before asylum. And I had a lot of illnesses in my body, so I was given medication. From there, I got access to study, to continue my universities at Bethel University. I started with mental health counseling, and specialized with the theology. So the strength and the resilience I've got today is the result of the survivors. So what I experienced there, sitting among the people who have gone through those terrible situations, they speak the same language, the atrocities, the trauma, where the human beings are experiencing in every part of the world today. So you would say, oh, it's not me alone. Someone is speaking there. Oh, he's speaking my heart, he's speaking my mind. So it became a big healing to myself. So I'm very, very privileged to become a result of the survivors today. So wherever they are, I would witness this. And we need to think about the world also for the people who are suffering, like Ukraine and every part of the world. We all need justice. We all need liberty, equality, and freedom. So thank you for
I lived in Ethiopia. I think Sabrina, you know Sabrina? Where do? Addison. Yeah, I see that. I've never seen a white person before. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you again. Our next proclamation will be from Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer, honoring TransCan Work. And we invite the members of that organization, Lexi Adsit, to join us and others, and we'll turn it over to Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Good morning. It is my honor to present the following proclamation to TransCan Work for their advocacy and support of transgender people in the workplace. All San Diegans deserve a good job and the ability to live with dignity and respect in our community, especially at work. TransCan Work was founded in 2015 to serve an unmet need in our community. Michaela, the founder, owned and ran a number of El Pollo Loco restaurants, where she saw a need for gainful employment in our community and hired transgender people to work with her business. A study from 2008 reports that transgender people had twice the unemployment rate of the general population, with higher rates for transgender individuals of color, and increased rates during the pandemic, in which 15% of transgender people fall under the poverty rate, which is 4 times more than our general population. For the past 6 years, TransCan Work has assisted over 500 transgender nonconforming intersex job seekers to find gainful employment, trained over 100 employers to ensure success of TGI people at every level of the organization, and has run the largest TGI service fair in the country. As we continue to create a more inclusive San Diego, we want to take a moment to acknowledge your important work. I commend TransCan Work for their commitment to our friends and neighbors who live throughout San Diego County. We are inspired to continue working alongside you all to contribute to a more fair and inclusive San Diego. On behalf of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors and my office, it is my honor to declare April 5th to be TransCan Work Day throughout San Diego County. We are joined by Lexi Aditsi, who will be accepting this proclamation.
Thank you, Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer. As I entered the building today, one of our lovely security staff in uniform asked me if I was getting married because I wore a white dress. And while I'm not, we are entering into a sort of partnership here with the City and County of San Diego, and not just for a better community for TGI people, but really for a better San Diego, a better state, a better country, where transgender variant and intersex people can live and lead meaningful lives. It's been reported that 75% of TGI people experience workplace discrimination nationally. That's almost everybody in this room. And so we work to transform the workplace through diversity, equity, and inclusion training, while also preparing job seekers for not just to get a single job, but to really build up a meaningful career and hopefully take skills that will help them through the rest of their lives. So thank you again for having us, and it's an incredible honor to be here.
Thank you so much. Our next proclamation will be from Supervisor Jim Desmond, and honoring Chef Lando Tai of the Enclave Farm. Accepting that proclamation will be Chef Lando Tai. Supervisor Desmond.
Why don't you come on right over here? Well, good morning. Today we're honoring that's a slip up. We're going to be honoring the Enclave Farm in Bonsall and Chef Lando Tai. As many of you know, on April 22nd is Earth Day globally and here in San Diego County. And we are celebrating April as Earth Month. And in keeping with that theme, we're recognizing Enclave Farm in Bonsall. This morning, we're going to be honoring Chef Lando Tai of Enclave, whose specialty is to both grow and teach chefs the principles of food as medicine, known as FAM, food as medicine. The concept of Enclave is a local chain of FAM cafes, and they began when Chef Lando's mom was given just 2 months to live. She was diagnosed with 4th-stage lung cancer. With her studies in mind, along with Eastern healing techniques and herbs, Chef Lando prolonged her mother's life for 2 additional years. Chef Lando was born in Southeast Asia, a refugee camp, where her parents were both South Vietnamese refugees, and her family immigrated to San Diego in the 1970s. She studied architecture in college and was a graphic designer before becoming a farm-to-table chef, entrepreneur, and recently purchased a 19-acre regenerative farm in Bonsall. She encourages people to practice what she calls sourcism, which means buying with intention, from sustainable farms, ranchers, artisans, and aims to raise awareness on the importance of nutrition and the quality of soil for better health for not only people but the planet. Here in San Diego County is to live well and to make healthy choices every day, and the Enclave Fam is helping people educate our community on the value of traditional Eastern healing techniques and the medicine as food. Whereas the County of San Diego, we're always committed to recognizing and honoring those individuals who are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, and Chef Lando of Enclave Farm is one such worthy individual. Let it be proclaimed by all the members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 5th day of April, 2022, that we commend Chef Lando Tai of Enclave Farm for her commitment to better health, nutrition, and in our community, and to hereby declare today to be Enclave Chef Lando Pham's Food as Medicine Day throughout San Diego County. Congratulations. You're welcome. Thank you, Chef. And here, did you want to say a couple words? Okay, we should do that first.
Hi. On behalf of myself and my amazing team at Enclave, they're unfortunately couldn't be here because they're all cooking up at the cafes right now. I call them my fam. I would like to thank Supervisor Jim Desmond and the entire County Board of Supervisors for this incredible honor and recognition. My name is Lan Tai, also known as Chef Lando, owner of the 3 Enclave Bakery and Cafes in San Diego and a 19-acre regenerative farm in Bonzel. With the goals of being San Diego County's first vertically integrated farm-to-table cafes that also serve as a place of education. I'd like to dedicate this proclamation in honor of my late mother, whose life, death, and afterlife is a central force of the FAM, Food as Medicine concept. I ask, how did we get to a place in this first world country in the year 2022 where French fries contain more than 10 ingredients that we can't pronounce or define? How about sliced bread, more than 20 ingredients? I don't know about you, but I like my fries with potatoes, salt, and oil. My bread with wild yeast, wheat, and water. So how about when most healthcare industries focus only on calories, salt, and protein, only to overlook the importance of eliminating processed sugars and artificially processed junk? We can no longer afford to live, work, and create new business models and ventures without fully understanding that we are all interconnected, that our actions have consequences. Culinary industry and food facilities can no longer just look at making delicious food without realizing its impact on the health of their customers and how the food they source affect our environment. Same goes for agricultural industries who only look to nature as a resource and not as a partner. We can no longer deplete our soils. We must restore and regenerate for a long-lasting future. That is why I'm incredibly honored to have the board recognize the importance of FAM Food as Medicine mission, although there is still so much more work to do to inspire people to audit their diet, their source of food, how nutrition plays an imperative role in both preventive health and treatment. We can work alongside allopathic medicine and heal and nourish people with delicious and healthy food. So we celebrate today, FAM, Food as Medicine Day, along with our local farms and partners like Sage Hill Ranch, Mindful Mushrooms, Jared's Real Food, Chino Family, Maciel Organics, Black Mountain Ranch Eggs, Pasture Bird, and many, many farmers here in San Diego with great enthusiasm and health. All of our 3 Enclave locations today, starting around 11, will be giving away a cup of homemade chicken noodle soup and plant-based mushroom veggie soup for those who are plant-based while supplies last today. So I invite you all to see and taste how delicious and craveable healthy food can be. And I invite hospitals, healthcare facilities to call me to place a wholesale order for soups and foods that will make your patients heal, feel replenished, and loved while taking care of our planet. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Congratulations. Yeah, wait. Yeah, get a picture. All right. Look at this. Nice.
Our next proclamation will be from Vice Chair Vargas and Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer honoring the County of San Diego epidemiologist. And accepting this proclamation will be Jeff Johnson.
Good morning, buenos dias. I'm honored to present this proclamation with my colleague Supervisor Lawson-Remer recognizing and honoring our county epidemiologist team, overseen by the county's Health and Human Services Agency. Our county epidemiologist team have worked to keep us safe against the spread of typhus, cholera, smallpox, influenza, and other diseases, including COVID. Led by our inspiring County Public Health Officer, Dr. Wilma Wooten, San Diego County has been recognized as a national leader in inoculations against these communicable diseases. As co-chair of the county's COVID subcommittee, I've seen firsthand the incredible work, and I know how truly indispensable they have been in our fight against the pandemic. Their investigation and data help provide key information that led to interventions in communities that were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, specifically in District 1. As I've highlighted before, it is thanks to these interventions that our communities now in South Region have high vaccination rates, 95.1% of the eligible population fully vaccinated. I know it has been a tough 2 years for all of our epidemiologists on the front lines, and today we honor your strength, your resilience, your commitment to our communities. So let me go ahead and turn it over to our Supervisor, Tara Lawson-Remer.
Good morning. It is my honor to present this proclamation alongside my colleague, Vice Chair Vargas, and to recognize the work of epidemiologists across the County of San Diego. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, state and local public health departments primarily focused on issues related to infectious diseases and maternal and child health. A county department of public health was organized in 1933. In 1953, the city and county departments were consolidated into one. Now, the County Health Department, Public Health Services, is a division of the Health and Human Services Agency. If you tuned in to any of the COVID briefings or checked the numbers on our website, the accessibility and data crunching is thanks entirely to our brave epidemiologists. They've worked late nights and early mornings to ensure that we have the data to make good decisions. Epidemiologists work to identify, investigate, register, and evaluate communicable and emerging diseases. This vital work protects our public health. They create dashboards to show health indicators, and as a policymaker who relies on good data, I know how much time and effort goes into data analysis. So let me assure you that your work has been put to good use. We are joined today by Jeffrey Johnson, alongside epidemiologists from public health, behavioral health, and child welfare that have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure we have accurate information to make sound decisions. I'd now like to turn the floor over to Jeffrey to accept the proclamation. Thank you.
Good morning, and Vice Chair Vargas and Supervisor Lawson-Remer and other fellow members of the board. Thank you so much for this honorable day and this opportunity to be recognized. There are so many epidemiologists in the County of San Diego working day in, day out, 7 days a week to make sure that we are serving not only our Board of Supervisors, our county leaders, and the citizens of San Diego. Thank you for this opportunity.
One more.
Thank you. Thank you to our epidemiologists. Thank you, Jeff and team, for all of your work. Next, we will hear from Balboa Park Committees of 100 about their project to restore San Diego Automotive Museum murals. And I think Vice Chair Vargas will be joining me at the dais to introduce this item.
Hi, thank you.
Good. I'm going to introduce you first. So,
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you. Vice Chair Vargas and I are pleased to welcome Roger Sholey and Ross Porter from the Balboa Park Committee of 100 here today to update us on a contest they held to restore San Diego's automotive monumental murals. And I'd like to welcome Vice Chair Vargas real quick.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher, and congratulations to the Balboa Park Committee of 100 on a historic restoration. I am especially proud that the winning artist, Antonio Mustico, is a resident of District 1. And Antonio, I want to thank you for sharing your art with all San Diegans, and thank you all for joining us today.
Yes. Well, thanks very much, Chairman Fletcher and Supervisor, for having us today. We're turning the tables. Instead of being honored by you, we want to thank the county for its support for our project to restore the murals at the Auto Museum in Balboa Park. The originals were designed by Juan Larranaga, a Hollywood set designer from Baja, California. He was named artistic director of the California Pacific International Exposition in the park 1 year after working on the King Kong and Son of Kong movies in 1933. At the depths of the Depression, the legislature funded this building in 1935 to showcase California's greatness. Larranaga's murals from left, let's see here, commerce, scenic beauty, agricultural bounty industry, similar to the ones you see right here on the walls of this chamber, depict an optimistic, future-oriented state, and their message resonates particularly strongly today as we exit the pandemic and its disruption of daily life. But the scenes were painted on fiberboard and removed after the fair in 1936, along with a Mayan-inspired ornamentation made of pressed sugarcane fibers. The Auto Museum opened there in 1988, but the original monumental artwork was missing. In 2015, the Committee of 100 determined to bring back the murals as the first step in revitalizing the Palisades area, home to the Air and Space Museum, Starlight Bowl, Municipal Gym, and the recently opened Comic-Con Museum. The restoration was a challenge given the lack of detailed documentation of the murals, but RTK Studios in Ojai, California spent months researching the period and arrived at designs as close as possible to Larranaga's. We raised more than $700,000 for this project and thanked the board for $68,000 in grants, a wonderful and permanent benefit from your community enhancement and neighborhood investment programs. After the murals were dedicated in 2021, C100 wanted to celebrate this achievement with a new artistic challenge. Here are the murals as they look today, by the way, and close up. In partnership with the AIGA San Diego Arts Group, we invited graphic artists from all over the binational region to submit poster designs inspired by the murals. Here with us today is contest winner Antonio Mustico. He's a former pastry chef who went back to school and received a graphic arts degree from City College last year. Antonio, you want to say a couple more words?
Good morning. I just want to say that I'm honored to have been picked as the winner of the contest, and I just am thrilled to be a part of a program that's helping to revitalize Balboa Park to its former glory and help it live up to its future potential. And that's all I got.
All right, thanks very much, Antonio. As a token of appreciation, we would like to present each of you with a copy of the signed, numbered, and limited edition of Antonio's design. We also have brought a limited number of copies for the public here today, and we'll leave them outside on the table in case you'd like to take one when you leave. Thanks again for the county's support, and we look forward to your continued support into the future for our region's crown jewel, Balboa Park. Thanks so much.
Let's do a picture. You want to bring one out? Let's do a quick picture. Come on. It's your painting down there. You're the one we're recognizing. It's incredible. There you go. Right there. There you go. There. You're good right there. You can have like 10 seconds.
Great. Yeah. In 10 seconds, Committee 100 offers free tours of Balboa Park, coordinated through the Visitor Center. So come and listen to the stories and recognize this great place of cultural pollination. We thank the supervisors so much for their support.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Roger. That was wonderful. You're welcome. All right, we will now have the swearing in of our new sheriff, Anthony Ray. Administering this will be presiding judge of the Superior Court, Judge Michael T. Smith. On March 22nd, the Board of Supervisors unanimously selected Anthony Ray to serve as the sheriff of San Diego County. Mr. Ray will serve in this role until January of 2023, when the newly elected sheriff will take place. Mr. Ray is currently assistant sheriff and has dedicated more than 3 decades of his life to protecting the people of San Diego County. Upon swearing in, he will oversee one of the largest sheriff's departments in the nation, managing almost 5,000 employees and providing primary law enforcement service to nearly 1 million people. Our board went through the process and came to the unanimous decision that Anthony Ray was who we wanted to lead our sheriff's department in these difficult times that we were in, and we will be relying, Mr. Ray, on your experience and stability to help guide and shape the sheriff's department during times of change, while always working to protect the people of San Diego. And as the Board of Supervisors and the entire county, we want to congratulate Anthony Ray for his selection and the role that you will serve. And we want to particularly welcome his wife, Marcy, and his extended family. We know that the family sacrificed tremendously for our public servants to go out and do it. And so we appreciate and welcome the entire family for being here on this wonderful day. And so with that, I would like to welcome again our friend, the presiding judge of Superior Court, Judge Michael T. Smith, along with Assistant Sheriff, soon to be Sheriff Ray, and members of your family. If you would like, anyone you would like to, please come up and administer the oath of office.
I want to thank Supervisor Fletcher, the Chair Fletcher, and the entire board for having me again to have this honor to swear in a friend and someone who I've worked with now in our roles at the court and the Sheriff's Department. You've made a very good selection. We all appreciate that. You ready? Yes, sir. Now, please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Anthony Ray, do solemnly swear.
I, Anthony Ray, do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties.
And I will well and faithfully discharge the duties.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, Sheriff.
Thank you very much, sir. I am the sheriff.
You are the sheriff now. Go ahead. Ma'am, your comments are disrupting the conduct of this meeting. It's your first warning.
Chair Fletcher, members of the board, thank you very much. County of San Diego, I will do my absolute best to serve you as the county, to provide safety to the community members, to work well to make the department as efficient as it possibly can. And I'm just humbled and grateful for this opportunity. I thank you so very much.
Can you bring your family? Come on, family. Come on. Come on.
Are they going to come down?
Is your family in here? Come on in. Come on in.
We're taller than you, so we'll be in front.
Come on up. Come on. Come on, Diego. If you're related or if you ever wanted to be related. Come on.
Go ahead, I'll go after that. I'll just sit there. More people.
Come on in. Maybe a couple on this side.
Also,
Yeah. Come on.
All right, everyone squeeze in just a little bit more. There we go, ready? Big smiles, 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
All right. One more.
My mom was here, she's always afraid of my
Thank you.
With the sheriff. Very nice to meet you. Okay. Thank you, and congratulations again. Thank you, Judge, for joining us, and thank you, Sheriff Ray. Next on the agenda is non-agendized public communication. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters that are within our jurisdiction but are not on today's agenda. The only action the board may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Reminder, according to Rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will get additional time to facilitate translation. In order to better facilitate these meetings, we will have up to 5 speakers in person and 5 speakers via phone, and the remainder of the non-agendized public communication will be resumed at the conclusion of our agendized items. At this point, I'll ask the clerk to call forward up to 5 in-person and 5 virtual speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 36 requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 23 in person, and 13 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speaker. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Brian Lafferty, David Gazaway, Kevin Kavanaugh, Jarrell Tuncap, and Casey Choate. Again, we'll be hearing from the first 5 speakers, as the chair indicated. All the remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. You may come forward in any order. Again, please state your name for the audio record.
Brian Lafferty. Hello, my name is Brian Lafferty. I am an SCIU Local 221 member and union steward who has worked for the county for 9 years. I work for the Department of Child Support Services. Chair Fletcher, you said in your State of the County address that more unionized workers means a stronger economy, stronger families, a stronger San Diego. For over 2 years, myself and many of my union brothers and sisters have risked our health and our lives to continue to serve the public during this pandemic. We love our jobs, and many of us take pride in serving the public. Unfortunately, the fact remains that 80% of our represented workers are underpaid compared to similar counties like Riverside and Los Angeles, as indicated by the equity study that this board has paid for. And many other classifications have had a difficult time recruiting and retaining workers because the pay is too low for the cost of living in San Diego County. And this is a consequence that us workers have felt from a generation of leadership that did not care about its workers. Today, you will receive SEIU's economic proposal for a strong contract that rewards our hard work and sacrifices. We urge you to fully consider this proposal as a way to strengthen our county and the services it provides. We urge you to work with us to come to a fair agreement that support our membership and the work we do. As to paraphrase the phrase on my shirt, the time is now. Respect us, protect us, pay us. Thank you and have a great day.
Just like to remind members of the public there's no clapping or cheering. Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is David Gassaway. I am a member of SEIU 221, and I've worked with the County of San Diego since 2007. I'm currently a senior civil engineer in the Department of Public Works. Our work has been critical during the pandemic to improve and maintain the county's infrastructure, including roads, bridges, sewers, and stormwater facilities. And we continue to work in person throughout the pandemic since we were identified as essential function by the county's continuity of operations plan. Today, you're going to receive SEIU's economic proposal for a contract that starts to close the pay gap and benefit gap that currently puts the county dead last when compared to competing public agencies in this region. Our competition includes the City of San Diego, Caltrans, the County Water Authority, and various other local water districts. I've seen my colleagues leave the county to work for those competing agencies with ever-increasing frequency. When I ask them why, the answer is always the same: better pay and benefits and less demanding workload. County Public Works is facing a crisis where it's almost impossible to find qualified candidates to fill vacancies, and when we do, they're not willing to come aboard for what the county offers. When we can hire, it's inexperienced graduates who receive training, coaching, and often credentials from us, only to lose them in less than a few years to other agencies or private entities that snap them up. The infrastructure bill that was recently passed by the Senate will provide ample amounts of funds for county infrastructure projects, but we won't have the staff to design and execute them. This will result in increased risk to the county of unanswered referrals for crumbling infrastructure and more deferred maintenance that generates more complaints and tort claims against the county. I live here and I work here. I don't want to see that happen. So I urge you to work with us to come to a fair agreement that supports our membership and the work we do. Thank you in advance for your leadership, compassion, and your guts to do the right thing right now. Thanks.
Next speaker, please.
My name is Kevin Kavanaugh. Good morning. My name is Dr. Kavanaugh. I'm a board-certified psychiatric pharmacist. I work for the County of San Diego, and I'm a member of SEIU 221, and I'm here today representing my fellow pharmacy staff at the Rosecrans Psychiatric Hospital. Pharmacy is an essential, yet often unnoticed component of the healthcare system, and it would take me much longer than the time I'm allotted to describe the vast scope of vital inpatient, ambulatory, and clinical services that we provide throughout the County of San Diego. I don't think I have to remind anybody here of the incredible sacrifices and difficulties healthcare workers have endured and overcome over the past 2 years, and our county pharmacy team is no exception. When our scheduled operations temporarily increased from weekday banking hours to 16-hour shifts 365 days a year in the beginning stages of a deadly pandemic, we rose to the occasion. When almost half our permanent workforce left, those that remained rose to the occasion and took on additional responsibilities and workload. When our pharmacy's structurally unsound building was condemned and evacuated for the third time, we rose to the occasion and moved the entire pharmacy ourselves, enduring minimal interruption to our hospital and clinics. And today, As we have done for the past 2 months, our staff will continue to provide our essential services out of a cramped, makeshift nursing station turned pharmacy within the Rosecrans Psychiatric Hospital, an indefinitely temporary solution, just like our extended hours. I've come to say that we are tired of rising to every occasion, overcoming wave after wave of adversity and hardship, only to have our voices go unheard, our concerns brushed aside, and our requests for fair compensation ignored over and over. We cannot continue in this fashion without recognition for the essential services we provide. So what we're asking for today is a simple location premium already granted to every other healthcare professional operating within our hospital. This fair and equitable request is too small to even constitute a rounding error in the county's fiscal budget. To the wonderful Board of Supervisors in front of me today, I hope when you're at the bargaining table that you remember these words and choose equity and fairness for our incredible county pharmacists. Thank you.
My name is Gerald Tencab. I'm a training coordinator for the Department of Environmental Health and Quality's Vector Control Program. Vectors spread diseases from animals to humans, so our program is in full effect, surveying, controlling, and testing these vectors to protect public health and safety. One of our main issues right now is staffing. We can't keep a division chief, we can't keep a program coordinator, even with their wages being near in 6 figures. And we definitely can't fill or keep our most essential filled staff because their wages are not worth what we ask of them. A lot of us are in underfilled positions where we're performing and doing tasks of people who are in 2 to 3 positions higher than us, and we're earning just as less. I personally have been in underfilled positions, and I'm finally an EHS2, but I perform at a 3 level, but I can never be promoted to a 3 because there is no budget for that. So I'm always going to be at a disadvantage unless the supervisors do something to change that. Now, the county is all about equity, right? We have health equity and climate change. We have racial justice and equity. We have justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. But all of us behind all of that who put the county's agenda into action and actually produce results day by day are suffering from wage disparities and unfair performance expectations. So where's the equity for us? So that we ask that you please support our union's proposal for wages and equity increase. Our program was here through the Zika outbreak, numerous disease investigations, even the COVID pandemic. We show up every day for San Diego, and we just ask that you show up for us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Casey Choate, and I work for the Agricultural Weights and Measures Department for Pest Detection Program. I have worked for this department for over 12 years. The core function of our department is to find 4 invasive fruit flies that have no natural predators. If not detected by my department, the invasive fruit flies will keep reproducing until most all fruits and vegetables are infested with larvae, which will make them inedible and unsellable. It takes only one mated female to get in here to start an infestation that will spread just like the pandemic. In 12 years, I've watched our department go from a military-like unit of 4 to 25-year veterans that could do this job with speed and accuracy to a revolving door of new people lasting about 6 months training new people. We have lost 15 insect detection specialists and hired 4 in the last year and a couple of months. We only have a handful of veterans left. All the other veterans have either retired or left this department due to very low pay. We protect a $2.2 billion industry and 800,000 jobs. 2/3 of the United States fruits and nuts and 1/3 of the United States vegetables come from California. If California was to go down due to an invasive fruit fly infestation, it would take the United States 10 years to recover. It would be a massive food shortage. We are never supposed to be more than 3 days behind on our routes. 3 days behind has always been code red. Because of the lack of staff to fill all 24 routes and half the staff being new, our routes this winter were averaging 20 to 30 days behind. We had routes go 50 days behind. That is 3 life cycles of a Mediterranean fruit fly. The only reason we're not talking about a full-blown infestation is pure luck. No fly landed on those routes. The luck is going to run out. We can't afford to live. We can't afford to take care of our children. We can no longer afford to do a job that protects our food supply. We agree with SEIU's union proposal and need every cent to stabilize our department and retain knowledge workers. Thank you.
We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, we'll be hearing from the first 5 callers. The remaining callers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I would remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll begin with our first caller.
Kevin Stevenson. On Saturday, pro-Putin commentator and open white nationalist Tucker Carlson spoke at the Awakened Church in San Marcos, a place that breeds the kind of ignorance and hate that we've become too familiar with at these previous meetings. Just because the Orange Man is currently out of the White House doesn't mean we're quote-unquote back to normal. The QAnon lunatics would love nothing more than for him to get a second term in 2024. That is why Merrick Garland needs to stop sitting on his ass and actually prosecute Trump. We have more than enough evidence at this point. It's getting really frustrating that it's taking this long. They're just dragging their feet. Speaking of QAnon, if the QAnon folks are in the audience, you guys claim to care so much about protecting kids from groomers and pedophiles. Well, while you continue to attack the LGBTQ plus community in states like Texas and Florida with unfounded, bogus claims of teachers sexualizing kids, the GOP-controlled Tennessee State House is planning to vote on a bill that would essentially legalize child marriage. So, QAnon, where's the outrage? Where's the fear-mongering? Where's the concern about, oh, they're trying to groom our kids? I haven't heard a peep out of that, out of any one of you. So spare me the outrage. Spare me the fear-mongering. Because you guys don't care about kids. You guys don't care about protecting our kids. You guys want to make our civilization more miserable than it needs to be, and it needs to stop. This is getting really old. This stopped being funny a long time ago. This is just infuriating at this point. So I just wanted to warn the public that this hatred and ignorance is in the backyard.
Your time is up. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Mark Wilcox.
Please proceed.
I'm here today to, excuse me?
Please go ahead. Thank you.
My name is Mark Wilcox. I'm here today to share some good news with you. Yesterday at the State Senate's Business and Professional Committee meeting, SB 1097 was considered and passed unanimously. SB 1097 was entitled the Cannabis Right to Know Act, authored by Senator Richard Pan, a pediatrician. The bill, which would place prominent health warnings on cannabis products, will educate consumers and protect children and youth. Dr. Pan wrote that the current health warnings required for cannabis products are insufficient to communicate well-established health risks, especially to our youth. These risks, including potential adverse effects on mental health, driving, lungs, and on infants exposed during pregnancy, will be prominently displayed using rotating front-of-pack health messages on products. SB 1097 aligns California labeling with evidence-based best practices for communicating health warnings in use internationally, and those being adopted by the FDA for cigarettes. Dr. Tim Cermak, psychiatrist, California Society of Addictive Medicine, stated that, quote, adolescents are at greatest risk of being harmed by cannabis, end quote. Proliferation of higher and higher potency cannabis products, often flavored, mimic candy, and marketed to kids, including edibles that are appealing to children and easily consumable, have served as key drivers for the increasing number of Californians suffering from adverse effects. While SB 1097 begins its torturous passage through the Sacramento labyrinth to produce meaningful protections for young people, now would be the perfect time for this Board of Supervisors to proactively add flavored marijuana products to its ban on flavored tobacco products.
Thank
to
you.
respectfully ask the
Time's up.
supervisors.
We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Becky Rapp. As a parent and lifetime resident of San Diego, I wanted to bring to your attention a publication I read titled One Chance to Grow Up. The publication describes how marijuana regulations and policies significantly lag behind the new, innovative, and radical different THC products on the market today. Many people in our country are unprotected and misinformed. Those who are at greatest risk are babies, children, teens, young adults, and pregnant women. Whether you are in favor or against the permitting of marijuana businesses, I'm sure everyone agrees that there is no known safe amount of THC for kids or pregnant and breastfeeding women. As you consider moving forward with the expansion of marijuana into our backcountry, I would strongly encourage you to include robust regulations that protect kids. Our kids are suffering and need your help. I ask you to consider regulating marijuana product packaging. Some ideas include child-resistant packaging, universal THC symbol on the product wherever possible and required on all labels, clearly labeled serving sizes, a number of servings per package, along with directions for use, listing all chemicals used in growing and producing THC products, including carcinogens such as butane, propane, and arsenic. Health and safety warning labels for mental and physical health risks are also important. Please take the steps necessary to protect our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from our next caller.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Gordon. I wanted to share with you President Biden proclaimed the week of March 20th as National Poison Prevention Week. He calls on all Americans to take action to safeguard their families and friends from poisonous products, chemicals, and medicine often found in our homes, and to raise awareness of the dangers to prevent accidental injury and death. With the unrelenting tragedy of the opiate epidemic and the astronomical growth of flavored nicotine products and marijuana edibles packaged in appealing and child-friendly ways, the incidence of childhood exposure to addictive substances in the home are becoming increasingly more common. Even small doses of an addictive substance, whether it's nicotine, prescription medicine, marijuana, or other illegal drugs, it can be highly toxic. When a substance is legal, there is a sense of safety, which has caused the risk of vaping marijuana or nicotine to be underestimated, which is problematic when it comes to our youth. Young children are the most vulnerable to the collateral damage from these substances, not only through neglect, secondhand exposure, and an increased risk of future addiction, but also through unintentional ingestion. More effective regulations are needed to clamp down on appealing packages and marketing that promote unintentional access and consumption of these products. I respectfully urge this Board of Supervisors to require clear warning labels with all addictive products, especially like nicotine or marijuana that is sold by retailers. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the final caller this morning. For this next caller, identified as Truth, we're not able to hear you. Your device might be muted.
Got it.
Now we can hear you. Thank you.
My name is Truth. Nathan, I wanted to correct one of your comments from March 1st. You said that as a county, we stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian people. Sorry, but that's not true. As an American, I cannot stand with any foreign country, especially a country like Ukraine that has a huge presence of neo-Nazis and Nazi worship. For example, Nazi collaborator Stepan Bandera who was responsible for massacres of Polish people and the Holocaust of Jews in Ukraine, is still being honored in Ukraine with statues, street names, and awards as recently as 2018. There's also Nazi groups in Ukraine like the OUN, the UPA, Right Sector, Azov Battalion, and the Svoboda Party. So no, the county shouldn't stand with the socialism, terrorism, and racism that's rampant in Ukraine. Nor should Americans give their money or arms to expand NATO. Unfortunately, since at least 2004, the U.S. government has been funding and arming militants in Ukraine. In 2015, President Obama admitted, quote, "We had brokered a deal to transition power in Ukraine," end quote. The current U.S. government response was already planned out in 2019, an Iran/U.S. Army report entitled "Overextending and Unbalancing Russia" that talked about, quote, imposing financial sanctions, providing lethal aid to Ukraine, encouraging protest and other resistance, undermining Russia's image, increasing U.S. forces in Europe, and deploying a large number of NATO forces on the Russian border, end quote. That's all from 2019. It's clear that there's nothing in Ukraine that's in the interest of the American people, only for a few sick politicians. I hope, Nathan, that you won't stay one of them.
Thank you. And Chair Fletcher, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning. Again, all the remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session.
Next on our agenda is approval of the Statement of Proceedings minutes for the regular meeting of March 15, 2022, and the special board meeting of March 22, 2022. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. I have a motion by myself, seconded by Supervisor Anderson. Please vote.
Just a moment, Chair Fletcher, having an issue with the voting system. We'll take a voice vote. We're unable to have it appear on your screens here. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We'll now proceed with the formation of the consent calendar. Members of the public will be able to comment on items that remain on consent after supervisors have had the opportunities to pull any items that they wish moved to our discussion agenda. We'll start first with Supervisor Anderson. Are there any items that you wish pulled or comments you wish to make on items that remain?
I'd like to pull 3 and 9, please.
Item 3. All right, items 3 and 9 will be moved to discussion. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Thank you. I don't have items to pull, but I have a couple comments and questions. Some of them are fairly minor. Let me just start with my questions, and I can move to my comments. So for item 1, I'm just confirming that the reallocation, this is before us for a vote because we're moving between funds, but there's no additional budget authorization for the Sheriff's Department. It's just between funds within the Sheriff's Department existing budget.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer, yes, the sheriff reserves are within the Sheriff's Department, and they're just transferring it over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Second question and comment. So I just am looking at this item number 5, which is the mental health screening to care initiatives contracts. Which is, by the way, fantastic. I'm so glad we're moving this forward. It's really great. I think we're facing a crisis with mental health, and especially in our schools, and I'm so happy to see this moving. Just had some clarifying questions. It looks like the intent is to have one large service provider, like a $7.5 million provider for the whole region to do both the screening to create the tiers as well as provide the services for Tier 2. And I'm wondering if we've given any thought to how to structure the bid process to allow some of our smaller community organizations who are doing really good work on mental and behavioral health sort of city by city in a more local way to be competitive in that grant process. Basically, are we intending it's one winner for $7.5 million, or could we have multiple winners that are, allow us to support some smaller community groups?
Thank you, Supervisor. I'm going to ask Luke Bergman, Dr. Bergman, to take this question. He is our Director of Behavioral Health.
Thanks for the question, Supervisor. So we intend for the service to be actually provided by through 6 contracts.
Okay.
6 distinct contracts that would represent the 6 regions of the county as represented by Health and Human Services Agency.
So theoretically, the same entity could win all 6, or theoretically, someone could be more competitive because they have better local relationships in one region versus another.
Theoretically, that would be true.
Great. Wonderful. I think one of the things I've really heard from community members is how important the service is for our young people, but also that there's just some wonderful community organizations out there that have already been trying to step into the breach, and it would be great to be able to build on the efforts that already exist and give them the funds they need to do that work really well. So I'm just really happy to see that moving forward. I had another question on actually number 2, item number 2. 1 second. Oh, no, it wasn't a question. It's just a comment, which is so great. I'm so glad we're going to go get more money, and I really appreciate the kind of creativity to try to leverage funds and go increase the size of the pie. And this is a good program, and I think we need to just be doing more of this. Let's go expand the pie and go get those resources. So I think I just wanted to acknowledge that was really was positive. And then I also, we have Supervisor Vargas, you're going to leave your item number 4 on the consent calendar. Okay. I just want to thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's great. We had a wonderful report back from our Make the County Work initiative and all the work and thought that went into expanding access to services in our county. And it's crazy to just sort of leave on the table resources that are needed to support folks who are in our community and are ending up in the emergency room and should be getting health benefits. So I think this is just a fantastic initiative. I'm glad that you brought it forward. I think it's been underlooked by our county for far too long, and I'm just really proud to be able to support that. And then I think I had one other. By the way, I'm sorry to bother us on all these consent items, but they're all great and really important. And then the only other, just wanted to comment that the item number 3, which was all this work on homelessness. Oh, that's the one that's pulled. Okay, great. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Supervisor Desmond.
I have no items to pull, no comments. I'll make a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar that has not been pulled.
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. Vice Chair Vargas.
Thank you, Chair, and happy to make a second. The only item I just want to make a comment on item number 4. I wanted to introduce this letter because I think it's really important for us as a county to do outreach, particularly to our older immigrants that are really, so that they're aware of this new law that the governor signed into effect on May 1st, which I think is super important, especially for folks that are 50 years and older, regardless of their immigration status. And I just want to make sure that I think it's really important to note that there's about 31,000 San Diegans right now that are 65 years or older that are eligible for Medi-Cal as a result of this expansion. And out of those, there's about 8,000 already that are using the scope of practice, the Medi-Cal restricted scope of practice services. And so I'm excited that we're going to have about 22,500 new people that are going to be joining us and be able to get their services. And I just want to be able to think about the fact that folks are going to be able to have preventive and wellness services, emergency services, mental health and substance use disorders. And I think what we learned through the COVID-19 pandemic was that, healthcare doesn't discriminate. And so this action is going to really allow the county to come back in 180 days to give us a really comprehensive strategy to develop partnership with our trusted community organizations and really provide us with where we are with enrollment progress and really, I think, starting on May 1st, ensure that folks who need these services are able to have it. And so estoy muy orgullosa de presentar esta iniciativa esta mañana para impulsar el condado a que haga todo lo posible para informar a la comunidad sobre este nuevo acceso a las comunidades. Quiero dar gracias al gobernador Newsom por esta oportunidad, porque aprobaron esta ley, ya que personas de mayores de 50 años en adelante van a poder recibir servicios de médicos a través de Medicaid sin importar su estatus migratorio. Esto es muy importante para todas aquellas personas, porque lo que no queremos es que la gente vaya a los servicios de salud de emergencia. Lo que queremos es que tengan ese seguro, que vayan ahora por medio de Medicaid a sus clínicas más cercanas, y así van a poder tener acceso. Así que con eso, empezando el 1 de mayo, todos tendrán, esos residentes mayores de 50 años tendrán acceso por ley a servicios de salud médico, y estoy muy contenta que vamos a tener, ojalá, la oportunidad de hacer eso. With that, I'm happy to second it. And then on item number 5, I just want to say thank you to Luke and the rest of his team for the great work around this issue, especially because we know how the pandemic has particularly hit our students. And I think this is so important. I am really looking forward to the fact that it's really also going to be addressing issues around stigma. So in addition to helping our students be part of like the different tiers and providing them the information that they need, and it's going to be culturally appropriate, the fact that it's going to be addressing stigma in our communities, and that we're going to be addressing mental health care as healthcare, I think is really critical for our communities as we're moving forward. So I just wanted to say thank you for the great work that all of you are doing. I know that it's been a tough couple of years, and so muchísimas gracias. With that, did I already second it?
You did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair Vargas. I want to echo Supervisor Lawson-Ramer's support of item 2. Really important funds that are coming in. Also commend Vice Chair Vargas on item 4. And then item 5 is a huge step forward. As a county, our board unanimously made a decision to invest significantly in mental health screenings and really getting to the notion, as Vice Chair Vargas said, of viewing this as a part of health and overall wellness. And so I think this has the potential to be a really incredible program. With that, item 3 and item 9 have been pulled, so we will take those up for discussion items. Before we get to public speakers, if you are here to speak on item 3, Community Development Block Grants or HOPWA funding, please do not speak at this point. That item will be heard individually, along with the approval of Leon L. Williams, San Diego County Human Relations Commission amended bylaws. If you're here to speak on that, wait until we call forward that item. We will have discussion and individual debate on that item. With that, we have a motion and a second to approve the remainder of the items on consent, excluding, again, items 3 and items 9. Before we vote, let me ask the clerk to call forward the speakers on the rest of the consent calendar.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 26 requests to speak on items on the consent calendar, 5 in person and 21 by phone. I'll also note that item 18 is being continued at the request of the Chief Administrative Officer. And as the Chair indicated, items 3 and 9 have been pulled for discussion from the consent calendar. So any members of the public that requested to speak on those items, either by phone or in person, please hold your comments until the board begins discussion of those items. Any members of the public that requested to speak on the remaining items on the consent calendar by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Avery Ware, Tim Macedo, Audra, Ryan, and Ryan as well. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. You may come forward in any order. And please identify which agenda item number you're speaking on.
Thank you. I'm speaking on agenda item number 2. And my name is Avery Ware. I am a member of Local 221. I'm a 20-year county employee, and I work for Adult Protective Services. I want to urge the board to vote yes on item 2. Proposition 47 is part of an effort to invest in rehabilitation and not just in incarceration. It will give the county the extra resources needed to support frontline employees that work in the jail, to keep the incarcerated safe and to invest in services that are desperately needed. Today, the board's also going to be reviewing SEIU's opening proposal for our contract, which would invest resources also in supporting and recruiting some of those same quality staff. So the board should support SEIU's bargaining proposal because it does that. not just in the jails, but across the very broad range of services that you know about. And because it can be a beginning at reversing what has been a long historical tradition of a low-wage, high-rent San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Tim Macedo, item number 4. Chairman Fletcher, Board of Supervisors. My name is Tim Macedo. I'm a proud member of SEIU 221, and I have been a human services specialist with the El Cajon Family Resource Center for 5 years. I appear before you today to urge the board to vote yes on item number 4, health care for older immigrants. As an HSS, I cannot tell you how many times I have had older self-sufficiency applicants tell me that they are living on the streets or otherwise can't afford to live anymore. As a senior citizen who has access to low-cost medical coverage, I don't know what I would do if I had to choose between paying for shelter, food, or a doctor's visit, if I only had access to emergency services or emergency medical coverage. Add to that the number of our recent immigrant families having left their home country due to war, famine, or other traumatic events. I would argue that being elderly, having suffered trauma, and only qualifying for emergency services goes against the board's vision, so eloquently stated by Chairman Fletcher at the recent State of the County address. Lastly, as a self-sufficiency specialist, who myself and my coworkers touch 1 out of 3 county residents, a large portion of which are in distress, deserve a well-educated, well-trained, motivated staff person to assist them. Competing with minimum wage applicants or minimum wage employers to attract quality candidates requiring staff to work 50 to 60 hours per week or seek a second job to survive will not attract and retain the workforce that is needed to adequately serve these people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Audra, again, I love how you put so many items that are loaded into one speaking 2-minute increment. Anyway, the COVID cost increase left you guys unable to complete projects for the emergency vehicle operation course. So now you need $850,000 to spend for it to be completed in July. Is that really going to happen? Probably not. And also you want to spend all this money for the people in custody, but really, I mean, it's talking about behavioral and housing needs. It's because you're putting the homeless and the people with mental health issues in these places that they should go somewhere else. They shouldn't just be filling up the jails, and then you can take this money and act like you're gonna help them, but technically you really don't. The fact that you want to give immigrants health care when people in the county are themselves unable to access these things, 31,000 of them, and they don't even have to have satisfactory immigration status. So, I mean, are they just people, why don't we concentrate on the border and see who we're letting in, but NORA wouldn't allow that. And then mental health screening, you're spending ARPA funds for kids to get mental health screenings in middle school. And, it's talking about COVID impacts on their mental health. It's what their teachers are doing to them, all the things that they're learning, they're being brainwashed. And the fact that you want to, spend $7.5 million on that. I'd like to know, it's saying that 10 years prior to COVID, 40% of students were sad or helpless. How many since COVID? Again, you want to just spend all this money on different things, $161,000 on Sherman Heights Community Center, rainwater capture prevention of preventative roof maintenance, debris removal, and backyard hardscape. You guys just love to spend money.
Next speaker, please.
Hi there. My name is Ryan Heath. I'm an attorney from Arizona. I run a nonprofit charitable organization called the Gavel Project. And I'm here to provide some education to the community. It's part of what I do as an organization. And what I'm finding, because we're actually filing lawsuits across the state of California against a bunch of school districts right now, and I'm seeing a lot of patterns because we actually have 6 lawsuits that we're funding. And when I look at these school districts and when I look at your agenda here today, I see something similar between all of these government agencies. And what I see is the redistribution of wealth from taxpayers to special interest groups. And what I mean by that is exactly what we saw here earlier today. There was a group that came up named Trans Can Work that actually were recognized by the city, and I assume, just like many of the items here, let's say item 5, providing $10,000 to a special interest group that promotes, let's say, transgender affirmation types of policies to children, which is really, in my opinion, child abuse, and I think the opinion of a lot of people in this policy, or in this community as well. When you give money to these types of groups, it just shows exactly what you're doing. You're handing money to the folks who put you in power. And my organization is going to be investigating all of you, your finances, what it is that you're doing with these positions, how you benefit personally, whether it be directly or indirectly. And we're going to expose it, because this is happening all across the state of California. When you hand out tens of millions of dollars to school districts in 3 rounds of funding throughout the year through the American Rescue Plan, just the same way y'all are spending tens of millions of dollars of our children's money, the future, these kids are going to be indentured servants for the rest of their lives because of what you're doing. And we're going to fight it. We're going to stand up and we're going to hold you accountable. So I'm with the Gavel Project. My name is Ryan. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
I'll remind members of the public that there is no clapping or outburst during the course of the meeting. Next speaker.
We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'll remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll begin with our first caller. Again, please keep your comments to all items except items 3 and 9.
Consuelo. I was going to speak, but Ryan stole all my words. Ryan with the Gavel Project. Thank you.
Now hear from the next caller.
Hi, Supervisors. I'm Paul Hinken.
Please.
All communications, especially my own. But seriously, folks, on item 7 tonight, the community enhancement stuff, there is the usual use of public funds for political grandstanding. I mean, a formal event like a prom, cooking classes, car parade, festival, custom holiday tree, are these really a benefit to the entire county or only to certain individuals? And many of these semi-private organizations or purposes. I would suggest that all of these neighborhood reinvestment and community enhancement program grants and also appointments should be part of the regular public review process and not be buried in the consent calendar. New bonds for the University of San Diego. I do not think that the county should unconditionally bonds for a Catholic school, no matter how inclusive it claims to be. There should be a statement in the resolution that county approval is conditioned at USD. Now, item 4, A healthy workforce, immigrant or not, protects us all from disease that they and we might carry. And is a good to be you to be aware of.
Now hear from the next caller.
Good morning. I'm Ana Malgoza, Vice President of External Affairs at San Isidro Health, where our mission is to improve the health and well-being of the communities we serve with access for all throughout San Diego County, from South County to North, Central, and Rural East County. Most importantly, we do not turn anyone away regardless of their inability to pay. This was crucial during the pandemic as we operated in the most infected zip codes and were able to provide our COVID testing and vaccinating with care in person and telemedicine to all, especially the uninsured. Our dedicated primary care physicians, our heroes, tended to more than just COVID patients. They tended to alien patients who came in for one condition but left after lab work diagnosed with more serious illnesses. And with no ability to refer an uninsured patient to specialists, they knew they were their last resort. Our dedicated PCP served as many doctors in one visit. As they stated, they could not let a patient suffer a preventable death or worsening condition on their watch. Yet they still had patients who could not receive the care they needed because of lack of insurance for chemo, surgery, colonoscopies. They felt tired and demoralized. The Healthcare for Older Immigrants development of a comprehensive outreach strategy, county coverage awareness campaign helps families survive, and just as vital, provides physician wellness, builds physician morale, and recovery to our health heroes who continue to treat our most vulnerable family members, and for that we are grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from my next caller.
Good morning. My name is Alor Calderon. I'm the Director on Employer Rights Center. I am here to speak on items agenda 2 and 4, and I'm here to urge the board to vote in favor of both 2 and 4. I want to say that I am very proud and very honored in the way that this board has been leading policy through this pandemic and through this period of governance. I'm very happy to say that I think the board is finally doing balancing what has been an unbalance in our county for many, many years. And our good workforce, it benefits all San Diegans. Trained workforce in the county benefits all San Diegans, everybody. And it is inhumane to have people who reside in this country who don't have health care. So I urge the board and proudly stand behind the actions of this board to vote yes on 2 and 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Now from our next caller.
Hi, my name is Ariana Federico, and I'm here to support Supervisor Vargas' item 4. This item hits really close to home because it protects a lot of people that I love. Growing up, I saw my parents prioritize the needs of my siblings and die before their own health. I'm a big believer that our immigrant communities are very much resilient, and often we hear how resilient documented individuals are because of their hard work, regardless of the limitations they face due to this overdated immigration system. Many times that resilience is at a cost of their physical, emotional, and mental health. For the past 6 years, I've seen firsthand my dad struggle with his knee due to working as a roofer for over 20 years. And he's made a decision to pay for bills, give us the opportunity to access higher education for myself and my siblings, and continue to support his parents back home in Mexico. 4 years ago, my uncle was diagnosed with cancer and only lived 4 months after his diagnosis. I think that Our communities need a lot of support when it comes to taking care of themselves because oftentimes they are caring for others. Our families don't go to the doctor because they don't have health insurance, and I do believe that this outreach program will help our families understand the importance of health care and caring for themselves. Thank you to Supervisor Nora Vargas and her team for continuing to advocate for all our communities, especially those that are often kept in the dark. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good morning, Honorable Board of Supervisors. Monica Montaño with Scripps Health, addressing item number 4. On behalf of Scripps Health, we respectfully urge you to support the development of a comprehensive outreach strategy to promote Medi-Cal enrollment to newly eligible San Diegans. Scripps is a non-for-profit integrated healthcare delivery system with a deep and rich history serving the healthcare needs of San Diego County. For more than 100 years, Scripps' mission has been to deliver high-quality, safe, cost-efficient, social responsible healthcare to the individuals and communities we serve. These core values are embedded across our healthcare system, and we strive to reflect them in all we do. In San Diego County, there are close to 1 million individuals currently enrolled in Medi-Cal, with Governor Newsom signing of Assembly Bill 133 last July, effective May 1st, 2022. Expanded eligibility of full-scope Medi-Cal will be available for individuals who are 50 years of age or older, regardless of immigration status. By adopting a comprehensive outreach strategy, the County of San Diego will take an active role in informing this newly eligible population of the availability of health care coverage. We support the County of San Diego's efforts to collaborate with the community partners and healthcare providers to help raise awareness and successfully enroll this newly eligible population. We respectfully urge you to approve this agenda item today. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from our next caller.
Truth. Item 5 is eerily similar to the American eugenics era of what was called hereditary or mental hygiene. Most people don't know about that history. Many of the same eugenics lies are still being repeated. For example, the lie that alcoholism is a hereditary disease, or that some skin colors are unable to learn, or that some people are born prone to criminality. Just like today, eugenics was supported by presidents, top universities, and was said to be data-driven and science-based. Government decided who was mentally fit, and those they deemed were not were to be sterilized or thrown into insane asylums. The excuse was that the unfit were filling up the jails. Today we have these supervisors emptying the jails and throwing everyone into the asylums. Now these supervisors want to throw certain children into the asylums while they're in school. And just like eugenics, with a special targeted focus on African American and Hispanic Latino children. Will any of this mental health screening on school children be with parental consent or with parental notification after the fact? Will it be a daily screening? Will drugs be prescribed? This cutely named Screening to Care initiative is just another step towards school-age targeted eugenics thought control, and yet another reason for parents to pull their children out of public school immediately. Item 4 makes Medi-Cal include people who don't have satisfactory immigration status. Undocumented illegals who sign up to Medi-Cal will be easier to deport. And item 1, the supervisors have taken over $1 million of the sheriff's salaries and benefits in less than a month. Feel free to take it away from Sheriff Anthony Ray, Mr. FBI National Academy graduate, the same FBI that were agent provocateurs in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Is he that same type of ilk?
Thank you, and Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent calendar.
We have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, seconded by Vice Chair Vargas to approve the consent calendar, minus items 3 and 9. I'll ask the clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We will go first to discussion item number 3, notice public hearing surrounding community development block grants and HOPWA funding. I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion by myself, second by Vice Chair Vargas. Let me ask Steph if you would like to do a presentation.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher and members of the board. Today's action requests your approval of the fiscal year 2022-23 annual plan and the Home American Rescue Plan cost allocation plan. The item presented before you supports the county's vision of a just, sustainable, and resilient future for all, specifically those communities and populations in our county that have been historically left behind. In addition, this item supports the county's framework for ending homelessness. Here today with me to present the request is the Director of our Housing Community Development Services, David Estrella. David?
Thank you, Nick. Good morning. The Health and Human Services Agency, Housing and Community Development Services, administers 4 housing and urban development federal entitlement programs. The Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG program, serves communities by providing a flexible funding source to address local housing and community development needs. The Home Investment Partnership, or HOME program, provides decent and affordable housing to lower-income households. This program is also used to support housing-related activities for low to moderate-income persons. The Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG program, provides direct services to persons experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness. Eligible activities are homeless prevention, rapid rehousing, emergency shelter, and street outreach programs funded through contracted providers. And finally, the Housing Opportunities for Persons with HIV/AIDS, or HOPWA program, provides housing and housing-related services to persons living with HIV/AIDS and their families. To receive funding, the County of San Diego is required to develop a 5-year consolidated plan outlining the needs of the community. To identify those community needs, HCDS holds community forums in eligible jurisdictions to ensure all the voices in the community, including low-income and historically underrepresented residents, can express their community needs. For each of the 5 years included in the consolidated plan, HCDS submits a 1-year annual plan outlining the recommended projects for that fiscal year. Each annual cycle includes 3 critical steps. First, the annual plan strategy determines how the county will prioritize and meet annual goals set forth in the consolidated plan. It also allows the public to provide input and make recommendations to the board for future funding. Today's hearing discusses the second step, the annual plan, which provides a list of recommended projects for funding. It also serves as the second required public hearing as required by HUD. The third and final required step in the program cycle is the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, also known as the CAPER. The CAPER details all the outcomes and accomplishments that will be approved in this year's annual plan. The recommended projects in the annual plan presented today are based on the needs of the community, board priorities, program requirements, and goals outlined in the consolidated plan. The board identified affordable housing, homelessness, and community infrastructure as its top priorities based on a board survey completed as part of the annual plan strategy process. Public input included 3 community meetings in the fall, a public hearing for the annual plan strategy, and a 30-day public comment period leading up to our hearing today. Public outreach was conducted in multiple languages, including English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Tagalog, and Arabic. Finally, all projects must conform to the county's current consolidated plan goals. The CDBG program serves communities by providing a flexible funding source to address local housing and community development needs. On average, funding for CDBG totals over $4 million per year. The county funds a variety of activities, including affordable housing, park improvements, public services, and sidewalk improvements. It is important to note that the CDBG program has strict expenditure requirements that may result in recapture of funds if expenditure deadlines are repeatedly missed. This year's recommended CDBG projects include 4 housing-related programs, including HCD's home repair program for low-income homeowners and fair housing education and outreach. One Parks and Recreation project, which will fund a play area and trilingual interpretive signs. 2 county sidewalks and 6 city-sponsored sidewalks, ADA and street improvement projects throughout the county, and 5 community public service programs, which include activities such as homeless services and vocational training. Projects identified by the CDBG participating cities and approved by their city councils are also included in this plan. The home program provides decent and affordable housing to lower-income households. On average, home funding totals over $3 million annually. Home funding may be used to support housing-related activities for low to moderate income persons. HCDS also administers the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, which provides direct services to persons who are experiencing or are at risk of homelessness. On average, annual funding for the ESG program totals over $350,000. The county also receives an allocation of ESG funds through the state of California, which brings in an additional $450,000 of funding to provide services. Finally, the HOPO program aims to provide affordable housing options for people living with HIV/AIDS and their families. The County of San Diego receives a regional allocation of approximately $5.2 million annually. HOPO funds may be used for a variety of housing activities, supportive services, and tenant-based rental assistance. HOPO is a critical piece of the county's Getting to Zero implementation plan, as without adequate housing, no one can have or achieve health. Separate from the approval of next year's annual plan, HHSA is also requesting approval of an amendment to the current annual plan in order to accept home ARP cost allocation, cost allocation plan. Home ARP funding is a result of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, or ARPA, and aims to reduce homelessness and housing instability in low-income households. This funding is separate from the ARPA funds already approved from your board and is administered directly from HUD. The cost allocation plan identifies community needs relating to housing and homelessness and identifies funding priorities for nearly $12 million in home ARP funds. As part of the development of the home ARP cost allocation plan, the county consulted with over 40 regional stakeholder organizations, hosted a public listening session with over 100 members of the community joining in, and analyzed housing and homelessness data from service providers. Public input, consultations, and data offered similar feedback and aligned to one another in terms of the highest needs for individuals experiencing or at risk of homelessness. Both consultations and public feedback through the listening session highlighted the critical need for more development to expand the affordable housing inventory in the region. Given public feedback and data, HHSA recommends using all programmatic home ARP funding towards development of affordable housing stock. This item supports the county's framework for ending homelessness through the strategic domains by establishing permanent housing and reducing housing instability to prevent homelessness. Today's requested actions include approving the 2022 through 23 draft annual plan and adopting the corresponding resolution, approve the home ARP cost allocation plan, approval to reallocate funding as necessary, and authority to take the necessary steps to execute contracts and award funding. This concludes our presentation. I'm happy to answer questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go first to our speakers on this item.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 8 requests to speak on this item, 5 in person and 3 by phone. Also note for the record that we did not receive any e-comments on this item. Any members of the public that requested to speak by phone on item 3, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, beginning with those in favor, followed by those in opposition of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Kelly Douglas, Jeff Witzman, Summer Boger, Kathleen Melanakis, and Jason Robo. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher, Vice Chair Vargas, and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Kelly Douglas. I'm the CEO of Voices for Children. I'm here with my colleague, Jesse Stein. I just want to say thank you so much for your prior support and for your consideration of our CDBG grant request. This year, as many of you know, we support San Diego County's children in foster care by providing them with specially trained community volunteers known as CASAs, or court-appointed special advocates. Our CASAs provide crucial advocacy for abused and neglected children in court, in schools, in the community, and otherwise just provide support for them and the consistency that they need so that they can thrive. This year, we're going to support about 1,000 CASA volunteers throughout San Diego County. We will provide advocacy to about 2,100 children and youth through our CASAs and a special staff advocacy program. And your grant will support advocacy for about 50 transition age youth from age 16 to age 21. This is the population of youth, of course, who are most at risk to experience homelessness and have other housing challenges as they approach aging out of the foster care system. So we want to thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do our work without the generosity of our community, including the county and the Board of Supervisors, and we thank you very much for your caring support of San Diego's youth in foster care.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm Summer Boger. The members of the board have become beholden to top government funding, i.e. the American Rescue Plan. Unelected public health officials and your career politician personal agendas than to us, those that you are said to be representing. I believe God in his goodness gives you this word today. I'm speaking to you, Chairman Fletcher. And this letter of intent that I am serving you today is a warning for the rest of you supervisors. You have sworn an oath of office and you have failed to uphold it. Here is my letter of notice that your violations and potential penalties, along with critical evidence, are here for me to give you, provided by Rent's Law.
Hi, ma'am. Ma'am, we're on agenda item number 3. If you
That's
could
right.
speak to that item.
That's right. I am speaking to this item.
HOPWA funded.
This is about the American Rescue Plan. This is about COVID. This is about where your funding is coming from and where you're spending your time. So you have sworn an oath of office and you failed to uphold it. And you must stop coercing on all forms of COVID policies and protocols. You must end the COVID emergency, cease and desist from membership of the World Economic Forum, because it is in direct conflict with our U.S. Constitution. And you must reinstate all lost jobs from mandates and resign from office. And I am telling you this because failure to comply with these demands and this notice.
Ma'am, the COVID item would be later.
This is important for you to hear, and it is about this.
The agenda item,
you cannot interrupt me. This is my minutes. Failure to comply with this notice within 5 days will result in a claim or claims being given and filed against your government crime policy with the American International Group, AIG, number 101-420-8623, for the harms that you and actions that you have caused upon the county constituents. That is why I'm serving you this today. And I would love to tell you more, but it won't give me time. But it's all in these paperwork, and I brought enough for all of the supervisors to get it.
I want to remind all speakers, your comments need to be relevant to the agenda item at hand. They need to be on topic. We have a COVID item later. ARPA funds are a part of this. Our ARPA items are a part of this discussion, so that's fine, but we need to restrict our comments to the items that were on in the agenda. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Jeff Weitzman, and I would like to serve you, Nathan Fletcher, with an intent to file a claim against you. Regarding 3, can I have the clerk deliver this to Mr. Fletcher, please? Regarding item 3, I'm concerned about the money that's being spent. We're offering money to folks with AIDS. That's great. What about the people that have been injured from the COVID vaccine? There's hundreds of thousands of them here in San Diego. And so to single out AIDS patients and not provide funding for people that have been injured by the vaccine, we're really not representing everybody here in San Diego. And in terms of the bond claim that's being filed against you for these mistakes in judgment that you've made over the past couple of years, it includes violation of oath of office, conspiracy, deprivation of rights under color of law, extortion, fraud, racketeering, bribery concerning receiving federal funds, obstructing and delaying commerce, genocide, and treason. So in terms of the money, going forward, I'm advocating that we spend the money to repair the damage that's been done. The damage that's been done is forcing another individual to take a vaccine that they don't necessarily want to. 21 U.S. Code 360 BBB.
This item's not about vaccines. I need you to stay on topic, please. I want to respect your time to speak, but this is not an item about vaccines.
This is an item about how we spend our money, right? And
that would be an appropriate place for how we spend it as it relates to item 3.
So federal 21 U.S. Code 360 BBB-3 states that we all have informed consent and the option to refuse any emergency use device. That's a federal law, and that law has been broken.
Next speaker.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Kathleen Melanakis. Mr. Chairman, you're proposing to spend more taxpayer dollars on the Rescue Act money here with this item, and you are able to do that only because you ratified a declaration of what you said was a state of local emergency for our county on February 19th, 2020. You went outside of your authority to do that, and you're still in violation. Let me quote Ex parte Milligan, a ruling of the Supreme Court. Neither the legislature nor any executive or judicial officer may disregard the provisions of the Constitution in case of emergency. But you've been disregarding the Constitution for 2 years now. And by spending more money, you're going to continue to do that. You've repeatedly violated your oath of office, and I have it right here. You've been fraudulently practicing medicine without a license, forcing experimental injections in violation of the laws requiring informed consent, Nuremberg Code, and people's civil rights, forcing unapproved EUA authorized products on county employees.
Ma'am, this item is about
I get my 2 minutes.
No, ma'am, you get your 2 minutes to be on topic to the item at hand.
Here
you need
is
to be
the
on topic to the item at
here
hand.
is the
We have a COVID
numerous
item later.
bonds that we're filing against you. And I'm giving it to the secretary, and she's going to give you. I really don't appreciate you not letting me finish my time.
Yes, ma'am, but the rules of procedure, you've got to speak to the item at hand.
This does have to do with the rescue plan and the people getting AIDS, maybe from your shots.
Next speaker, please. I'm going to remind members in the audience that clapping is disruptive. It violates the rules of the procedure. As a body, this is the first group warning.
I'd like to invite forward Jason Robo and Audra.
Jason Robo, I didn't know that this was related to your state of emergency, so I think that it's bogus you're cutting them off. But anyways, you don't care. Catherine Austin Fitz from the Solari Project at Solari.com, who also defies the nonsense of the COVID narrative, was the Assistant Secretary of HUD, and she was sacked for having the balls to expose the corruption involving trillions from the government. This is just our local version of government grift under the guise of doing good, just like the mental health screening, which is basically just a different version of how they've invaded our immune systems now in the country, in the world. The Federal Housing Authority has $1.3 trillion. That's a big pot of honey you guys think would be sweet to dip your hands in. Fitz said that there are as many ways to steal money from HUD and the federal government as there are recipes in the Joy of Cooking cookbook. Fitz attempts to create wealth rather than you, which are just basically trying to enrich yourself, cranking out drywall caves, enriching special interests. And I think the only thing special about it is your policies are retarded. And as for HIV and AIDS, Luc Montagnier, who got credit and won a Nobel Prize for discovering HIV, is against actually the narrative that HIV causes AIDS. And if you read The Real Anthony Fauci and you found out how that guy is a psychotic fascist, but maybe you just look up to him. RFK Jr. wrote in The Real Anthony Fauci that Montagnier has gone against that, and he's died recently, but he does not believe HIV causes AIDS. And you'd think that that would be an important scientist's opinion. Anyways, your political scheme blows, and to paraphrase Lil Wayne, you and your corrupt crony constituents just want to be getting some HUD, getting some HUD. You don't care about mental health. You are causing mental illness. You are a sickness on this county and an embodiment of it in this entire country and the world. And yeah, you should resign, like I said. And like I said, there was another back door, which was the suicide idea.
Next speaker, please.
Audra, love how when people dissent from you guys, you don't like it, and then you call in the sheriff. Anyway, homelessness, definitely a thing you're creating. You know that. I know you went out and you were putting people on the tally. Are you homeless? Did you help them? No. But do you know what you did do? They said, you guys took us to go for a ride for a vaccine. They picked us up in a car, took us to go get a vaccine, and then dropped us off. Well, that's nice. I made sure to tell them, don't ever let them do that again because they're going to kill you with it. And I love that you're doing this for people with AIDS and HIV. You know the vaccines have AIDS and HIV in them, correct? Probably not, because you probably go, oh, I don't believe that. I don't even believe that HIV is man-made. So you want to use these 36, almost $37 million over 5 years. So you think that you're going to create enough housing for these homeless people when you only complete 1% a year. So that means in 5 years, you'll have completed 5%. Good job. That's good. Did you get a new vehicle too, Nathan? I saw that outside. It's pretty nice. But it's not electric, so I'm just like, how does that fit into your agenda? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so, and you can reallocate the funding whenever you desire. I love that. It's just like, we're going to need more money for this because in the 5 years, that $37 million is going to be gone, and we're going to need more to help the homeless. How about you fix the problems and quit firing people, killing them with the vaccines, making sure that the housing is so outrageously priced that they can't even live here, all where you're like, I'm going to put the money in my pocket. That'll help, right? It's good. Yeah. 5 seconds, Nathan. That's all it would take to arrest you.
We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'll remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Begin with our first caller. Our first caller is Consuelo. It looks like we lost that call. Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you, Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. By the way, I want to thank all of you for your support of homeless shelters in my district. I appreciate how much work has been done, and I want to thank staff for all the outreach you've done. You know, I know this last month you spent a lot of time. We had a whole bunch of organizations reaching out in Magnolia. We've gone a full court press on that. And so I really had a simple question with all this funding. I know that we have tents in shelters online, coming online. Could any of this money, or would any of this money be better used to expedite that, or it wouldn't, or it may not even make an impact on it, that we're already on our way? I just wanted to make sure that if there was an opportunity, you know, in my district, people would rather see people off the sidewalks than new sidewalks, because the shelters are a much more appropriate place for people to be. So would this help, could this help expedite those shelters that we're working on?
Thank you for your question, Supervisor. So in this plan, as an alternative project, what was included is an emergency shelter fund in the amount of $3 million. That was created in anticipation of future program revenue, or income that's returned back to the county that can be used for future projects. What this fund allows us to do, if it's included in this plan, is it gets forwarded to HUD. They can approve it, and as resources are made available, then allocations can be made towards exactly the activity that you described.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that.
I've got a motion by myself, seconded by Vice Chair Vargas, to approve the recommendations in item 3. Please vote. Or please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair Fletcher, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Thank you. We're going to go to agenda item number 9, the approval of Leon L. Williams, San Diego County Human Relations Commission's amended bylaws. We've had a request from the Human Relations Commission to the board to amend their bylaws to give them some additional latitude in how they conduct their affairs. Before we begin this item, this is a emotionally charged issue. And as a board, I would hope that we can conduct ourselves with the decorum that each individual deserves here, that we can express our opinions. What we are discussing here is bylaw changes. We are discussing, do we change the bylaws? Do we allow the HRC to have their requested bylaws be put into effect, or do we not? That is the item that is before us. And so as we move forward, I hope that we can all respect each other. And I would remind everyone that Rule 4I of the Rules of Procedure says discrimination or harassing remarks, including legally protected speech in a board meeting that disparages an individual or group based on their perceived race, religion, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, disability, or other hate speech but does not rise to the level of a criminal threat or inciting violence is things that are not welcomed here. And so please, let's demonstrate to the public that we can disagree with one another, and we can do it respectfully, make our points surrounding the bylaw changes again, which is the issue at hand here. And we will move forward with that. I believe to begin this item, we have some comments from HRC board members. I believe Chair Ellen Nash and HRC board member David Garcias are on the line, and I would like to invite them to make a brief presentation to the board on their requested changes today.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. I've unmuted both speakers.
Good morning. This is Ellen Nash, Chair of the Leon Williams Human Relations Commission of San Diego County, and happy to be on this call in regards to our bylaws changes that we are recommending. I want to remind everyone that the Human Relations Commission is a nonprofit. Bylaws changes are very routine, as many of you know. The issue regarding bylaws changes initially began with a creation of a subcommittee when we were also having other issues. You have to remember that the creation of the Leon Williams Human Relations Commission was put together quickly after the Jewish synagogue incident that happened in Poway. It was 30 years in the making. And as a result of our leader here, Chair Nathan Fletcher, as well as the board there that was in place at that time, that commission was created. It was created with urgency, and in regards to that, the infrastructure was not adequate in regards to the initial creation of the Human Relations Commission. We had some bylaws. However, our infrastructure was not in place in regards to our vision, our mission. All had to be revisited, and it was during COVID. And we were on Zoom calls, meeting, trying to get our infrastructure in place that would align with our vision and our mission. As in any routine nonprofit organization that I've been a part of, as a leader in BayPAC right now, we're going through an infrastructure change too that looks at your mission, your vision, your bylaws, your strategic plan, and we created committees around all of these different pieces in regards to our infrastructure with support from the Office of Racial Equity and Justice under the leadership of Andrew Strong and the capable attorneys, San Diego County attorneys. That's where we are. It's an infrastructure update, creation of infrastructure as a result of a sense of urgency in the creation of the Leon Williams Human Relations Commission. I want to turn this over to the chair of our bylaws subcommittee, David Garcia, and he can take you further into the language and also into the questions that you might have in regard to the bylaws, the creation and update of our bylaws. Thank you very much.
And this is David Garcia, and just to add, there was a need for an update to our bylaws, and it is really important because bylaws really govern the way an organization must function, as well as the roles and responsibilities of the officers as well as the body. It's essential in helping the organization map out its purpose and the practical day-to-day details of how it goes about its business. So this was critically important, and our commissioners felt this was very important that we take a step forward. In addition, there was also a need or a want from the commission that there be a code of conduct. And again, code of conduct is essential because, again, it clarifies the mission of the organization, the values and the principles of professional conduct. The code articulates the values the organization wishes to foster in the organization and the leaders. So to go into a little bit about the bylaws changes, first we had a change because we wanted to have in section Article 2A was the growth of the HRC, or because we did have organizations that were interested in joining. So we wanted a mechanism in the bylaws that allowed for these changes. And so there's a 2-year review that we've added to the bylaws to assess whether an organization could be added. And then again, we were very, the subcommittee, the bylaws subcommittee was very important to them that it be a 2/3 vote, so that if an organization were to be considered to be added after the review on the 2nd year, there would be a 2/3 vote of the members at a meeting. The second part was vacancy removal. We did have cases where some commissioners may have not attended, and we wanted to have a mechanism in there if a seat were vacant for whatever reason. If the person moved out of the county, or if the person was no longer able to participate in the HRC, that there be a mechanism in the bylaws that allows for this removal, because otherwise the bylaws didn't speak to it. And then another section was on absences. If a commissioner was unable to attend and they were absent for a certain period of time, there was also a mechanism to be able to deal with these absences. Then in Section 7C, we added local ethics training language, which was very important to our members. And then we did add a Section 7G, which was about if someone violated the code of conduct, that there was a ability to either censure somebody, or if the case arose to it, there be a removal. But again, each of those, it was very important to the board that there be a 2/3 majority, so a supermajority to trigger that. And then the last was Article 7H, which was a code of conduct. This code of conduct was critically important because we wanted to have something to be able to tell people this is the behavior we want to see in the HRC meetings, so that everybody was respected, everybody was treated fairly. We do not want to have anyone feel that it is not a good place to be for the commission meetings if it became somewhere where people were not respected for who they were. Those are the changes that are proposed in the bylaws. And again, these bylaws are critical for the HRC to have governing rules. It's very important. I myself have been in every organization I've ever been in, had bylaws, and we lived by those bylaws. And we also amended them when it was appropriate. And we amended it through the process. So we are asking the Board of Supervisors to approve our bylaws amendments. The board has had a overwhelming majority of commissioners that are asking for these bylaws changes. So I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thank you. I want to thank our two representatives from the HRC for walking through the requested changes of the board here today. I was very proud as a board when we recreated the Human Relations Commission, named it after Leon Williams, to be a place to promote human dignity, human relations, address issues of intolerance and discrimination in our county. It's very difficult work, and it requires a series of uncomfortable discussions and issues, and I think we have to continue to support the HRC in their efforts to accomplish the mission as outlined by this board. And I appreciate all the work that went into the HRC developing this request for the board to simply change the bylaws to empower the HRC to more effectively fulfill their mission as they see fit. Before we go to board members, I think we should hear from our public speakers in this item, and then we'll come back. And again, just reminding our public speakers what we're discussing today are bylaw changes for the HRC. And with that, let me ask the clerk to call forward our speakers in this item.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 23 total requests to speak on this item, 7 in person, 16 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 51 e-comments, 49 in favor, and 1 in opposition. Any members of the public that requested to speak on item 9 by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, and we'll begin with the individuals in favor, followed by those in opposition of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Crystal Irving, Rodney Houston, Dennis Hodges, Audra, John Neal, Jason Robo, and Aramanique Glass-Blake. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher and Board. My name is Crystal Irving, President of SEIU 221, and I'm here to recommend that you vote yes for item 9 to support bylaw changes for the Human Rights Commission, because we simply cannot tolerate hate in our county. And there's another really important reason why I'm here. For 8 years, I served as a protective services worker for Child Welfare Services, and I was a bargaining team member in our union during the last contract negotiations. We organized, mobilized, and fought, and every time we approached the board, it was like bargaining with a brick wall. Here I stand so encouraged because today is a new day, and now is the time. This morning, we provided a copy of personal letters from our members to our county supervisors. Well, everyone except for Joel Anderson, who didn't accept our letters and to whom we still have an open invitation for you to meet with our bargaining team. And Supervisor Anderson, you voted for agenda item 27 on March 16th.
I need you to ask you to speak to the item before us, which is HRC bylaw changes.
Okay, so I will jump down and just say that for our bargaining team, we're pushing for real changes, and that's economically and culturally, and we also seek to address issues of diversity and inclusion in that. And so that brings me back to recommending a yes vote on board item 9, and also wanting to shout out our previous president, David Garcias, for whom we heard from during the presentation today. I'll just leave copies of the letter for Joel Anderson and Helen Robbins-Meyer. Thank you all so much, and please vote yes. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Dennis Hodges. I serve as the senior pastor of the Church of Yeshua HaMashiach, as Hebrew for Jesus the Messiah. I served as a worked in the Department of Corrections for 32 years. So I know about order, I know about discipline. I came up through the ranks. I retired as a captain, a special agent, and on the street. But I've been on the board of Human Relations for about 2 years. The purpose of the commission is to promote positive and human relations, respect and the integrity of every individual, regardless of gender, culture, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, age, or citizenship status. So we're not respecting the integrity of every individual when we seek to create bylaws that silence and censor the voices of those individuals. And we're not promoting positive human relations when we create laws that do not support the freedom of faith and belief. We're not promoting positive human relations when we declare quoted scriptures as hate speech, when we're talking about the Bible. The Human Relations Commission was created to address conflicts as they arise throughout the county and address them in an equitable and thoughtful manner for the sake of positive human relations. And the county and the commission has the opportunity to be a leading example on how to address conflict head in a thoughtful and non-discriminatory approach. So my position here today is to take out some of that ignoring the freedom of speech. Again, I know about order, I know about discipline, I know about the Roberts Rule of Orders as well. There was a November 9th incident, and I'm not going to go there. I'll let somebody else speak. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. Sorry, glasses. My name is John Neal. I'm part of Joel Anderson's district area, and privileged to be here. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher, Chairman Fletcher, and the board for letting me speak. Want to just address this Human Relationships Committee proposed changes. I am a public high school teacher in the East County. I teach history and government, and I was surprised when I looked at some of the wording chosen in this particular proposal. No time does allow me to go over all of them. I want to mention particular Article 7, Section H, item number 3, the quote of the definition of discrimination. Discrimination or disparaging remarks, including legally protected speech in committee meetings that disparage individuals or groups. It goes on. This statement update not only is a violation of the Constitution of the United States, but actually, in my heart, violates the entire intent of the committee. The fact that we're trying to promote human relationships, respecting integrity of other people, individuals, regardless, I believe is the word used, regardless. As a history teacher and a constitutional government teacher, I would find it impossible to explain to my students what I consider a hypocrisy in this particular way that it's written. You can't stop people from saying what they think, what they believe. Again, understanding no one should directly attack anyone for any reason whatsoever. But to limit people's speech and to actually state in your bylaws, we're going to eliminate the legal speech allowed to maintain some level of, it's hypocrisy to me. So I would just ask you all not to follow the Dred Scott decision, not to follow the Plessy versus Ferguson decision, not to follow the Jim Crow laws, which were designed to veil an attempt to shut certain people's down, their rights down. My understanding of the committee, having studied it, and my board, is it's to provide for all.
Next speaker, please.
Thank you.
My name is Arameet Glass Blake. I am a government community relations consultant. I am not here in any paid capacity. Shout out to Andrew, shout out to Ms. Ellen Nash, shout out to Pastor Hodges. And the reason why I want to say this is because I believe conflict, when nurtured properly, produces growth. And the commission had an opportunity to nurture this conflict properly so that we could grow from this. I seen Andrew, I seen Ms. Ellen, I seen Pastor Hodges doing the work necessary to move us forward. And it's unfortunate that there are commissioners that really did not listen to the other commissioners who said that they did not want their voices silenced. They wanted to hear from the other commissioners so that we could address what this country is dealing with. I spoke with over 200 pastors, and I've been working with many of the leaders and pastors in this room, but also with the LGBTQ and trans community to do the hard work. And so I'm asking, though we need some of the bylaw changes, take Supervisor Anderson's recommendations on the amendments and make sure that we are not censoring or silencing people, but we hear the truth, we hear what people's belief systems are, and we work through those conflicts and we nurture them so we can grow from this. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Audra. Man, you guys are just something else, because you want to have this Human Relations Commission, and you don't like when people discriminate, and you're trying to stop that, and you want to make, you know, racial equity and justice and, you know, inclusion when you exclude people. And I mean, basically anything that goes against the Constitution is null and void. Doesn't matter if it's a mandate, a law, an edict, anything. And so just right here, you're violating the Constitution by trying to silence people. You can say whatever you want. Ain't no one gonna stop you, right? But you wanna sit here and silence people if they dissent from your own agenda. And you're leaving a whole class of people behind. You guys are on the wrong side of history, sitting here acting like, oh, we don't want discrimination, don't do that to us. Oh, well, we do it to you and every single person in this county. If we don't agree and like, oh yeah, let me like get in a line to put a bioweapon in my arm. I mean, never in history has it been like peddling drugs is like the cool thing to do and to force people into it. Well, you know what? I don't want AIDS or HIV. I don't want to die young because of you guys forcing this upon the people, but because I don't agree with you, you want to silence us. Well, we'd love to silence you, but that doesn't happen because you get to do whatever you want. You sit up on this pedestal and act like you're holier than thou and you're just so much greater than us. And that's sad because it's like we're sitting here trying to protect people, save people's lives, all while you guys destroy them and act like you're fixing the problems. You create the problems and pretend that you're fixing them. So it's like, look at me, pat me on the back. I'm doing so good, right? It's a shame. Because you actually are the leaders of this county and you're destroying it day by day, second by second, every agenda item you put up. And it's about time that people start paying the frick attention.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Jason Robo. Yeah, so I find it interesting. You guys are basically sexual predators of liberty, or trying to be. Unsavory voices are needed for dialogue for people to grow. I mean, if you just suppress them, things go into the darkness, just like the things you do in the shadows that we can't see that are obviously a problem, like the COVID mandates and whatnot. I guess the head in the sand might be a good logo for you guys. Yeah, you're basically hypocrites. It says that the committee or whatever was established to promote positive human relations and foster mutual respect and understanding among all groups. And you're saying censorship. I mean, you're going to call these the Hitler's tolerance laws or something? I think that would be fitting. Yeah, and you demonized those who resisted Bill Gates' prick and exposed how that's all a bunch of bullshit. And so, I mean, are you going to have any tolerance towards that? I doubt it. And yeah, it's funny you guys have a code of conduct. I respect people. There's some that's really overt, like we have to like do what you believe in or something is like supposed to be the way we respect each other. It's like if you're gay, I'm not going to blow you. But anyways. But yeah, my body is a temple. I'm not down with taking the shot, so I'm like concerned about that aspect of things anyways. And yeah, I feel bad for your whoever cleans your chambers because the excessive amounts of you guys stroking each other. Got to clean it all up. It's a big circle jerk. I guess they call them mandates. I guess that's no accident. It's human relations, the way that you're screwing us, and as George Carlin noted, it's a big red, white, and blue dick being jammed in our assholes every day. And as I noted about the Marines attached to the Navy, I think that Nathan now is on the USS Censorship. And yeah, you guys are just full of crap, like a big old overstuffed colostomy bag in an understaffed nursing home. You stink. This place reeks. You need some potpourri, I think. Can I burn some incense? Is that illegal? Probably.
Final call for Rodney Houston. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'll remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We'll begin with our first caller.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher, Vice Chair Vargas, and Supervisors. My name is Kara Desert. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a commissioner on the Leon L. Williams San Diego Human Relations Commission. I'm also the CEO of the San Diego LGBT Community Center. On behalf of the center, I am here to provide 100% support for the updated bylaws as proposed by the Human Relations Commission, which drafted and passed to the updated bylaws a code of conduct before you in response to Chair Fletcher and Vice Chair Vargas's request for its creation. These bylaws now include a code of conduct, an attendance policy, and a process to remove a commissioner for cause, including violation of the code of conduct. At the State of the County last week, Chair Fletcher reminded us all how important it is to stand with our San Diego LGBTQ+ community, particularly our transgender community, who are the targets of discrimination and exclusionary laws across the country. Thank you, Chair Fletcher, for reminding us that hostility towards any community based on their identity is simply wrong. Thank you also to Vice Chair Vargas and Supervisor Lawson-Remer for your support for our LGBTQ+ community. We cannot tolerate homophobia and transphobia anywhere in our county, including and especially on the Human Relations Commission. Our community respectfully asks each supervisor to approve these common sense updates to the bylaws. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll now hear from our next caller.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Hookheld. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a resident of Supervisor Anderson's district. I'm calling in support of the Human Relations Commission's bylaw update as proposed by the Commission, updating the Commission's attendance policy, creating a code of conduct, and empowering the Commission to remove for cause. It's imperative that the Commissioners adhere to the highest standards of ethical conduct, and it is vital that the Commission has a clear code of conduct and removal authority if there is a violation. Thank you in advance for your support on this item.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Hi, my name is Yang Wei, and I'm a community activist and organizer here in San Diego. My pronoun is he, him, his. I'm also a resident of the city of North Park as a member and a member of the LGBT community. I'm calling to ask the Board of Supervisors to support the Human Relations Commission bylaw update as proposed by the Commission. The Commission came together to bring a diverse group of commissioners to work together to foster a more inclusive and equitable San Diego County. And it's absolutely making sense, right? I mean, for any commission, for any board or any body or organization, we do need to have some sort of a code of conduct. And it's a common sense that we need to do this in order for us to have our work more effective. So I would encourage the supervisor, please vote and support the updated bylaw as proposed. And after you vote, to support it, because these are the people on the commission. They did the work. They know what they want, and they think that that I think our job is to be there to support that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Luis Montero Adams. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am a resident of District 4. As an ally of the LGBTQ community, I'm calling to add my voice to the strong comments that have already been made in favor of the approval of the bylaw amendment. Thank you to all of the callers who have called in today, and I ask the Board of Supervisors to support the HRC bylaws update as proposed by the Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Chair. My name is Helen. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a resident of the city of San Diego. I'm calling to ask the Board of Supervisors to support the HRC bylaws update as proposed by the Commission. It's critical that commissioners adhere to the highest standard of ethical conduct, and it's vital that the HRC has a clear code of conduct and the authority to remove a commissioner for violation of the commissioner's code of conduct. I support the updated bylaws as proposed and ask that you vote to approve the HRC's bylaw update. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. We'll now hear from our next caller.
Truth. Item 9's Leon L. Williams Commission is made up of a group of extremists who demand conformity of their hateful views via these new bylaws. Here are some of their members. Pena Taylor, who believes, quote, we all need to be woke, end quote. That should paint a pretty clear picture of the work of this commission. There's also retired Bill Gore, who had a record number of inmates die under his watch. There's David Garcias, former president of politicized union SEIU 221. There's Eleanor Evans, who was one of the commissioners who brought in the Common Core crap to California schools, where 1 + 1 can equal whatever you can justify. There's Caroline Desert, who worked for eugenics supporter Margaret Sanger's Planned Parenthood. There's Tammy Gillies, who works for the ADL, a known domestic and foreign spy organization. There's Taha Hussein, who is a member of the National Conflict Resolution Center, the organization who wrote the new biased civil discourse rules that have silenced San Diego residents at these meetings. And there's little Kate Chasen, a literal child working with the U.S. Surgeon General's group to turn schools into mental asylums. Hence item 5 today. If you want to know just how hateful this Leon L. Williams Commission is, look at how they discriminated against Pastor Dennis Hodges for his religious views. That's what this item 9 is really about today. Look it up. You people on the commission are disgusting in your hypocrisy and lack of tolerance. Dennis Hodges, I'm sorry that you were treated unfairly and ganged up on by these hypocrites. Your letter explained it all. I'm glad you stood up for yourself today. Feel proud.
Thank you. We'll now hear from our final caller.
Duran Reese, the Salt and Light Council. Thank you to the board. I oppose number 9. The commission says we urge all to respect differing viewpoints and to be able to peacefully disagree. You also say to promote positive human relations, respect, and integrity of every individual. But we are not respecting the integrity of every individual when we create bylaws to silence and censor some individuals you disagree with. This is not promoting respect for differing viewpoints. You are creating laws that impede our First Amendment freedom of faith and beliefs. This is creating division and hate. In fact, I'd venture to say this is flat bullying technique you've designed to purposefully silence any alternative voice. Was the commission created for that purpose? I ask you. To advance an agenda? You are barely operational since 2020, and you are spending an inordinate amount of time on attacking only one member, triggering these bylaw changes and codes of conduct changes. Are you stacking the commission with only one synchronized voice? The HRC was created to address conflicts and address them in an equitable and thoughtful manner for the sake of positive relationships, while not forcing anyone to compromise on their values and conform to your definition of code of conduct. The commission could be an exemplary group addressing conflicts with alternative solutions in a thoughtful, non-discriminatory approach. But I don't see how the HRC has behaved in a manner worthy of their stated goals to this point. Nor do we see how this continual attack on loving Pastor Dennis Hodges promotes integrity. I finish with this. As you declare scripture used by Pastor Dennis Hodges as discriminatory, harassing, or derogatory hate speech, I would just say, be careful. It's a terrible thing to fall into the hands of a living God. Thank you.
Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the recommendations in this item. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Let's go to Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. You know, I looked at the current bylaws, and in Article 3, It says the duties include examine the cause of tension, conflict, discrimination, and intolerance between various groups, provide recommendations to alleviate such conditions, practices, and attitudes, and foster mutual esteem, justice, equity, and dignity of every individual. I agree with this. If I was here, I would have voted for it. And what I'm concerned about is we as leaders have to set the tone. And frankly, over the last decade in politics, I'm sick and tired of people fighting, grandstanding, and failing to improve our communities when given the opportunity. And Nathan, I'm sure you've done an incredible job on this board. We don't always agree, but you've always allowed me to speak. You've always given me the credibility that my voters gave me as a right to represent them. And I've tried to follow that lead with all our colleagues, whether I agreed with them or not. And I look at this and I think, here's an incredible opportunity for this commission to really rise to the occasion. See, the part that is kind of upsetting to me is they're good people. I've talked to many of the people on that commission. They're great people. But I think that this is such a, and as you stated, Chair Fletcher, this is such a heated issue that sometimes people immediately say things that they don't mean, or they immediately think of the worst in people as opposed to the best. And you know, I made a career working across party lines in Sacramento, doing more bills with Democrats than all the other Republicans combined, because I thought at the end of the day, the people I serve are more important than who I am as an individual, and that my duty to them should supersede any minor short-term gains I get by saying something that hurts someone else needlessly. And so when I look at this, I want to challenge the people on that commission to rise above this and to show us the way. So if we just say, we're going to rubber stamp, in any time there's conflict, instead of showing us resolution, we'll just purge that person. That's a problem for me, because I think that we're losing our way along that. And if Mr. Garcia is still on the line, I'd like to know what the vote was on the bylaw change before it came to us, because I don't have it in front of me, but it was a simple majority. And if he has it, I'd like to hear, because there's a lot of abstentions.
Yeah, let's hear from Mr. Garcia.
Yes, it was an overwhelming majority. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but I think there was, I believe there was a couple of abstentions and one opposition, but the rest, it was the majority. I think it's possible one of the staff may have the actual numbers.
Let me ask Mr. Strong if you know the numbers on this request.
I do. The vote to approve was 14 members voting yes, 8 members abstaining, and 1 member voting no.
Okay. Well, I'd like to give the commission an opportunity to fix this before we start making big bylaw changes. And you know, I get that you can have somebody who is trying to be problematic and is using that position to undermine the goals of the organization. But I also understand that something that this emotional, people can overreact and be upset. You see, I think that if we allow people to change the rules because somebody quotes a passage from the Bible, the Quran, or the Torah, we're going down the wrong road. There's a lot of people in my district. You heard one of the speakers who identified themselves in support of this. You've heard people in my district who identified on the other side. I walk a very tight line trying to ensure that everybody in my district is treated with respect. And I'd really love for this organization to make that job easier by being another beacon on the Hill, sending out a signal of how we can all work to get along. Because there's always going to be people who are deeply faithful, and there's always going to be people that have other views, whether they agree politically or another. but we have to live in this world together. We can't be fighting each other and saying we're going to cancel you because we disagree with you, or we're going to purge you because we disagree with you. I mean, when you look at this board and how it's changed, Chair Fletcher, you were in the minority, now you're in the majority, and yet you never lost track of what it feels like to be in the minority and that how your voice needs to be heard. What I'm worried is that we're going down the wrong road with this. And so I know it's hard work, but I'm asking for that hard work because I think that's what Leon Williams would have wanted. I think that's why it was named after him. So I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to send this back. Let me find it here so I have that right. To return the bylaws to the County Staff and Human Relations Committee for a review and require a 2/3 vote on the commission before it comes back for board approval. That way, you don't have a simple majority. You have an overwhelming majority. If you're going to purge somebody off that commission, it requires 2/3. The policy that creates that should be 2/3 too. And I would ask upon my colleagues to do it. And then on a separate note, I think part of the problem of this is, do we have any, can staff answer whether we have any required training to be on this commission?
We currently don't have required training, but we are considering that as a part of the strategic plan development and moving forward. So we would train on bylaws, we would train on Brown Act. Brown Act is actually the one training that they do get, everybody gets when they come onto the commission, but other than that, we don't.
So I'd like to amend into this too, that it requires the commissioners to go through training. You see, part of the problem with this is somebody abstained from a vote, and then they were asked and pressured into saying why they abstained. But in the bylaws, it says specifically, let me see here, I have it. A commissioner may abstain from voting on a matter. If a commissioner abstains from voting on a matter, the commissioner shall not be required to state the basis for the abstention. Yet, in the case, now, I don't think anybody said, you have to tell us, but because without the training, people feel that they're compelled. We have a vote where 8 people abstained. None of them were asked why they abstained, moving this forward. So if we're going to do this, we need to be adults, and we need to really set the bar high. And I'm willing to support it. Look, what the goal is that I said earlier, I absolutely support. So I would ask that we go back to the commission. I think that they can create a path, but I think with the 2/3, I'd feel more comfortable voting for it if we had that. So I'm asking for those 2 amendments.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Anderson. And I appreciate your comments greatly. The effort and spirit that we work here on a board, it's okay to disagree. And I think we do that, and we make our points, and we can make them passionately and forcefully, but still respect the integrity of each other and treat each other with that respect and continue to work forward on other items. You know, this is a difficult issue, and it's a difficult issue for the HRC. They were created to do really hard, difficult things. And a part of everything that we've dealt with in the past few months surrounding this, in my eyes, is how do we empower the HRC to fulfill their mission that we've outlined, understanding how hard and challenging and difficult it will be. And I think the HRC has overwhelmingly requested that we amend their bylaws to do that. These are the changes that they feel like they need, with 15 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 8 abstentions, but overwhelmingly requested that we make these changes to them. And so I'm reluctant to send it back to them and have them go through this entire episode again. I will note that it is a 2/3 vote for any censor or any removal or any of those types of items. It is a prospective item looking forward. So I'm reluctant to send it back to them and have them continue to drag through. I would like them to carry on with the mission they have in front of them. I would like them to move forward and carry on. But I do wholeheartedly agree with you on your second recommendation, that there needs to be required training for commissioners, not only on the bylaws, but on the bylaws, as you point out. If that had happened, perhaps the situation might not have occurred, around the rules of order, and I believe around the code of conduct. I think all 3 of those, in addition to the Brown Act training they already go through, would be appropriate, so that all the commissioners understand the bylaws, the rules of order, and the code of conduct. And so I'd be more than happy to accept that,
Mr. Chair,
amendment.
If I may, I appreciate what you're saying. If I may, I'd also like to make sure that we're not asking them whether this is weed abatement, and while weeds are important, it's not the same nature. This is really important work. I'd like to have these meetings moving forward. Maybe we could amend this in to either have the audio or the visual of the meetings being kept for future reference so that people can see this. Because if this is really designed to teach people how to think about these issues and rise to the occasion, they should be open and easily accessible for the public, because I'm hoping moving forward, they set the tone for all of society. Yeah. Now, with that, there's one other issue, so I'd like to add that as an amendment, since we're going through that. And then one last item.
I have a question as you're adding all these amendments, because I just want to make sure, because I want to make sure that we're fair.
One's been turned down already.
No, I understand, but I want to make sure we're fair, because the Human Rights Commission is a very important commission, and I want to say thank you to the Human Relations Commission members for all the work that they've done, and I think that they have done exceptional work in the recommendations that they've made. But I want to make sure that we don't single them out from any other commissions that we have in the County of San Diego, because I think everybody should be working under the same guidance, right? Everybody should have codes of conduct. Everybody should be able to have bylaws. So today what we have before us is an issue specifically for the Human Rights Commission. So, but I want to make sure that if we are going to ask the Human Relations Commission to be public about and everything that they do is going to be, open and transparent, that we're going to ask every commission that we have in the County of San Diego to do the same, because they should not be excluded or we shouldn't be singled out from any other commission. So whatever rules we're going to be agreeing to today have to be the same rules that we're going to apply to every commission that we have in the County of San Diego.
Madam Vice Chair, if I had a second, I would second that.
All right, I just want to make sure.
And then the last item I had is there was some confusion over moving forward whether it would be retroactive or not. I think this is a clean start. I think it should mention here that whether it's on record, audio or written record, that these are policies moving forward, that we're not retroactively trying to apply this. This is about a learning and growing opportunity. So those three amendments are the things that I'm asking for. One you have agreed to already, or at least the second hasn't, but you have. And I'm thinking that Nora might be a second on the other amendment.
So let me ask real quick, let me ask either Chair Nash or Mr. Garcia if you can comment on the prospective versus retroactive component of what we're doing here today.
Hi, yes, this is David Garcia. We did, the HRC did agree that this is moving forward. This is not retroactive. This is moving forward. And we want a clean slate where everybody knows how we are moving forward on our mission and our goals.
Okay.
I don't need the amendment then. That works for me.
Let me ask quick, Mr. Strong, does HRC have the current capability to have their meetings be public and recorded to be posted?
Absolutely. We're actually planning to do that moving forward as a part of the strategic plan, putting it out there for the HRC. But we will be posting videos on the website as well as minutes moving forward.
Okay. And let me ask our CAO if we have the capability to do that for all boards and commissions.
It's going to be difficult. With Zoom, we have an a visual from that, but when we go back to in-person, we don't have a way of having video. We could look into the audio portion of all meetings and we could post that, but I can't guarantee that we would be able to do the video piece. We certainly can post, and I think we do post agendas and meeting minutes, but we will make sure that we also keep an audio record and post that.
Let me ask the Vice Chair if that's okay.
Yeah, that works for me, because we're also working at the state. We're also working at the state level to try to change some of the regulations so that we have more opportunities for folks to be able to have some tools like Zoom for future meetings. So I'm fine with it.
I'm going to get to my other colleagues. Go ahead.
Chair Fletcher, pardon. Since the application of these rules to other committees was not noticed that way, you'd have to just take it as guidance for that to come back as a program rather than do it here.
Okay. So before I go to my other colleagues, let me just clarify the motion that's on the table. The motion that's on the table is to approve the recommendations outlined in Agenda Item 9 with the addition of requiring training for commissioners around bylaws, rules of order, and code of conduct, and to have the HRC ensure that their meetings, audio and video, are public and accessible, and then directing the CAO to explore how we could do similar audio recordings with other boards and commissions and report back to the board at a future date. And is that second, or you're okay with all that? Okay. Let's go to Supervisor Desmond.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all the people that serve on this commission. And I want to really thank Supervisor Anderson for your comments, and for this board. I mean, even though we've had major differences on things, we still work together and vote 90% of the time or more, 5-0 on many of the issues. But this Human Relations Commission, I think is put together in my mind so that people learn to work with each other. And I think this is kind of what we're talking about here. And not to make light of it, but I think the fatal flaw in the Human Relations Commission is allowing humans to be on it. There's 31 people on this commission and the committee, and trying to get everybody to agree, or you're going to have a few people that are outliers with 31 people on there. So, I think the First Amendment protects freedom of speech and religion, and this is a protected right upheld by the Supreme Court. So whether you agree or disagree with anyone's comments, we don't want to create a commission that silences the religious beliefs of anyone like Christians, Muslims, Orthodox Jews, or other communities or other religions. Government agencies, I think, must be held to a higher standard. And we need to ensure that the County of San Diego is doing everything in our power to allow free speech from all points of view. One of my appointees to the commission is a transgender woman. And I'd like to read an email that she sent regarding this issue. This is her quote: "Under no circumstances will I attempt to silence a member of the overall community for expressing their deeply held beliefs. The idea of the HRC is to represent the entire San Diego County community. The idea is to reach common ground by communicating with each other and not by insisting that your beliefs are more important or righteous than anyone others and silencing those who disagree with, or you disagree with. Under the terms of hate speech, for anyone you don't agree, using the term hate speech for anything you don't agree with is worse than anything I heard from Reverend Hodges. Essentially, you're doing the same thing you're accusing Reverend Hodges of doing. Reach out, find common ground, and don't marginalize those you disagree with." That's end quote. I want to mention one of the commenters, the speakers that came up, really hit me with something that really struck a nerve. I wish I could had written it down quicker, but nurturing differences enables growth. So thank you very much for that comment. Hopefully I got that right. But one of the things that's kind of scary is that I heard that if we do this for one commission, we have to do it for all the commissions. Well, does that mean the planning commissions, the sponsor groups, all the committees that say? I know we're only talking about it at this particular.
Just the audio.
This is
the audio. The audio component was the only thing to.
Just the audio, but not the 2/3. But I don't see why not. If you're going to allow one committee to have this 2/3 capability of removing somebody, why wouldn't the other committees or commissions have that same? So to me, this is kind of going down a slippery slope, which I think is not a good place to go. We have to allow other voices, even though we don't like hearing them or we disagree vehemently with them. So I think we need to leave the removal and replacement with the Board of Supervisors or the agencies, or the organizations that actually appoint people to the different committees. Because I know there's different agencies and things like that, particularly the Human Relations Commission. There's 9 or 10 agencies that put people on there, including the Board of Supervisors. I think we should leave it up to the appointers, I guess, instead of the committee itself. So I don't support the 2/3 voting position that was brought forward for the censorship or removal. Having the code of conduct, having some of the other bylaw changes all seemed reasonable and rational. I would support those, except for the 2/3 vote to remove somebody. So appreciate the time and listening to my differing opinion. Thank you.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Thank you.
So first of all, I just want to start by thanking our Human Relations Commissioners for their volunteer service to our region. These are difficult and thorny issues, and I know they've taken quite a bit of time to try to navigate these issues together. The HRC is charged with promoting respect and dignity between and among people in San Diego County. So it's fitting that a commission whose purpose is to promote positive human relations is the entity stepping forward to create a code of conduct and demonstrate for all in our region how to govern and conduct oneself in the face of disagreement. So I will be happy to support the motion as amended on the floor today. But I've heard some statements and arguments in this room and leading up to today that I must address. And this vote in front of us today is not about freedom of speech. It's about the ability of the Human Relations Commission to create bylaws to allow them to do their job to promote respect and dignity for all individuals in San Diego County. This is about allowing the commission to create qualifications for membership and service aligned with the board-established mission of the commission. Would we think that someone who states out loud that Jews do not have the right to exist and are dogs and vermin is a qualified individual to serve on the Human Relations Commission? These are views a person is entitled to hold and express under the First Amendment. And expressing these views in the public square is a strongly protected free speech right. But it would disqualify them from serving on a commission, our Human Relations Commission, founded precisely to respond to attacks on Jews in our community, the killings in the Poway Synagogue in 2019. Would we believe that someone who believes blacks are inferior and should be slaves would be qualified to serve on our Human Relations Commission? Ephesians chapter 6, verses 5 through 9 said, "Slaves, be obedient to those who are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in the sincerity of your heart, as to Christ." Would we believe that someone who believes that women should be subjugated to men would be qualified to serve on our Human Relations Commission? Timothy 2, chapter verses 11 through 15 says, "A woman must quietly receive instruction with entire submissiveness. But I do not allow a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man, but to remain quiet. For it was Adam who was first created, and then Eve. It was not Adam who was deceived, but the woman who was deceived and became a wrongdoer. But women will be preserved through childbirth if they continue in faith, love, and sanctity with moderation." No, we would not. People have every right to express these views and to express them as a private citizen. But I strongly support the Human Relations Commission's bylaw changes that clarify qualifications for membership on the HRC. Refusal to uphold the purpose of the HRC disqualifies someone from serving on this commission. Many of our commissions and advisory boards have qualifications. Our Behavioral Health Advisory Board requires that some members have experience with mental and behavioral illness in their past. Freedom of speech does not mean all speech is protected all the time. It is a well-established legal principle that free speech does not protect the right of someone to shout fire in a crowded theater. In 1919, the Supreme Court held that words, which ordinarily and in many places would be within the freedom of speech protected by the First Amendment, may become subject to prohibition when of such a nature and used in such circumstances to create a clear and present danger. You cannot tell me you like my breasts and want to ask me out on a date at work. That is sexual harassment and would be creating a hostile work environment. In 1986, the Supreme Court clarified that sexual harassment is not protected speech and employers can be liable for creating a hostile work environment when offensive speech is permitted to continue. I'm a lifelong supporter of free speech. I've said many times in my life, I may disagree with what you say, but I will defend to your death the right to say it. In 1977, the ACLU went to court to defend the rights of American neo-Nazis to march through the streets of Skokie, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, home to many Holocaust survivors. The group defended the Nazis' right to demonstrate and won the case on First Amendment grounds. Do neo-Nazis have the right to demonstrate in the public square? Yes, absolutely. Do they have a free speech right to serve on the Human Relations Commission? No. The right to speak in the public square is completely different than the right to serve on a government commission created with the express purpose of protecting the dignity and worth of individuals from precisely these kinds of hateful attacks. So I want to take a moment to uplift some of the other scriptures that I hope can guide us today. Romans chapter 14, verse 13. Let us therefore no longer pass judgment on one another, but resolve instead never to put a stumbling block or a hindrance in the way of another. Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. Romans chapter 13, verses 8 through 10. Ending with love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no wrong to a neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. So I strongly support the work that the Human Relations Commission has done to create bylaws to allow the commission to fulfill its mission, and I am proud to support the motion and support the bylaw changes brought forth today. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Wasserman. Vice Chair Vargas.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher, and I'm happy to support this. I just wanted to briefly just kind of say that I think it's really important that we are very cautious and that language matters. I keep hearing, I mean, and it happens over and over, especially here on in our board meetings where people are saying, things, and I understand that, and we talk about freedom of speech and over again, and I think people hide behind freedom of speech often. But I want to just remind people that young people are listening, and they listen and they internalize and they suffer when they listen to a lot of the things that people are saying. Today people were using a lot of terms around folks who have AIDS and HIV, and for those folks who suffer, it's very hurtful for them. And so I understand that we all have our beliefs, and I want to make sure people understand. Today I'm not voting or deciding if the Bible constitutes hate speech. Absolutely not. What I think is really important, and what I'm doing today, is voting to ensure that our commissioners have a code of conduct that really understand that there really is no room for bigotry or intolerance in our communities. I do believe that we have a responsibility to promote human relations and to really be good to each other. And I understand that people believe that because we're elected officials and we're representatives, people can just come up here and say whatever they want. I mean, we've seen a lot of different things that have happened here, but the Human Relations Commission members, they're volunteers, and so I'm really grateful for them for all the work that they've done, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to really have tough conversations that I think as a county we haven't even had ourselves. And our communities are suffering because we have seen some of the challenges that we're having between, Black and Latino kids and or anti-Semitism and all of the different things that we are seeing throughout our community. And that's why this commission was created, and to see that this has created a lot more, aggression and negativity. I think for me, it seems like it creates more hurt. And so what I want to also encourage the commission to do is not just have training on how to do parliamentary procedures, because we can all learn how to do that and we can read a book and Google it. But I think what I would encourage is to be able to train folks on how to have the courageous conversations on when you are hearing the bigotry, or when you're hearing the things that are not okay to say. How do we stand up and say, hey, wait a moment, can you please stop? Can we take a moment and pause? Because what you're saying is hurtful, what you're saying is not appropriate, and what you're saying is hurting my community at this moment. And
the second row, your comments are disrupting the conduct of the meeting. We're asking you to please stop. I apologize, Mr. Vargas.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And so I just think it's important for us to really lead by example, and I think the Human Relations Commission has a great opportunity to teach. There are tools on how do we teach to lead with, by being courageous and having these tough conversations that so many of us don't even know how to have. A lot of it is because we don't have the tools on how to have that conversation, because most of us don't consider ourselves to be prejudiced or racist or to have any type of homophobia or any of those, things that we want to pretend that we are, good human beings. And so if we can do that and we can provide those tools for our communities, I think that would be very helpful, and we can share them with other people and take this as a learning tool to help others as well. And so again, thank you to the members of the Human Relations Commission for the great work that they're doing, for all the time that they're spending, because I do think that in the end this can be a learning opportunity for everyone.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We'll go back to Supervisor Anderson.
Yeah, I'll be quick about it. Supervisor Vargas, I really liked your remark. Sadly, ignorance frequently isn't hateful. It's for lack of tools. And I think you're focused on the tools because people don't realize you can't, unless you walk in the moccasins of somebody else, the shoes of somebody else, you're not necessarily going to fully understand what they're going through. And I think that tolerance and understanding is really important. And I think that's why this committee is important. And with that in mind, I'd really like to get to a 5-0 vote on this. And I know that I don't want to speak for Supervisor Desmond, but we don't want to have any possibility of not this committee, but if we follow these policies in other committees, that the code of conduct is weaponized. Would you consider, and I'm just putting this out there, that the vote to remove somebody would be forwarded to the board to finalize? And then that way, there's no chance that a small group on a clique on some future committee starts to create their own fiefdom and lose track of the focus. Because, even in the diversity of our conversation, we are the full gambit here. I mean, and I think that at the end of the day, this has got to be a win for all of us. Because, it's our chance to show the commission how it's done.
Yeah, I think I appreciate that perspective and the desire. I think a part of what we did in creating the Human Relations Commission was to empower them to be the ones to have these discussions and to trust them in terms of how they move forward with that. And I think the effort that the HRC has asked for here is for them to be empowered to have that. I think the code of conduct is vital and essential, but a code of conduct without consequences can be meaningless. And I think in that regard, what they have requested is they have the ability, as the ones who are present, as the ones who hear what happens, as the ones who go through the deliberative process, that they be the ones to be able to enforce that code of conduct as they see most appropriate. And so I think at this point, I'm prepared to support their request.
Let me just give you a different way to look at it, and then I'll silence. If they can't make a solid argument to get 5 of us to support it, then how are they going to lead 3 million people in San Diego County? And so I'm just thinking, this should be egregious. They have to get to a 2/3 vote to do it. It should be a consent item for us at that point. But I think that advocating our authority to an organization that's not duly elected, that's appointed, is an advocation of what we owe to our constituents, because they elected us to represent them. Yeah. And so that's the reason why I suggest it. And look, I didn't ask the crucial question, would this get Supervisor Desmond on board? Because my purpose is being the 5-0 vote.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Anderson. Again, I want to thank the members of the Human Relations Commission. It's difficult. It's hard. They are volunteers. They serve in a volunteer capacity. And I think from my perspective, we need to respect what they've asked. They know, and they sit in the meetings, they deal with each other, they work through this. They did a lot of deliberate work around developing these bylaws. They had an overwhelming vote to ask us to recommend them. And I think that we need to respect that and empower them as a commission to move forward. So we have a motion and a second to adopt the recommended bylaw changes for the Human Relations Commission with Supervisor Anderson's addition to require training for commissioners on bylaws, rules of order, and code of conduct, with the request that HRC meetings be made publicly available in audio and video form, and with the addition to ask the CAO to explore the feasibility of audio recording for other boards and commissions and report back to the Board of Supervisors in the future. With that, we have a motion and a second, please.
Second part, you don't have to put it on there.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that
Perfect. Okay, so just the two. Okay. With that, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
No.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes with Supervisor Desmond voting no, all other supervisors being present and voting aye.
It is 12:15. We will break for lunch. We will resume at 1 p.m. Thank you all.